The main character was very puzzled. He couldn't understand how he could fail in his next job application. The guy upsetly asked the employer why they didn't hire him because he had passed the interview. The employer calmly answered the guy that he was sorry and that if he was not hired, it meant someone had already been appointed in his place. The main character walked home sadly. It seemed to him that the whole world turned out to be around him and all the people around were only thinking about his failure to get hired. The guy sadly walked down the street. He felt sorry for the time he wasted, because his employer could have told him earlier that he didn't pass. The main character gradually moved away from the Chenya Corporation building where he met with failure. The guy turned around and angrily began shouting curses at his failed employers. The main character was so immersed in his failure that he did not notice anything around him and he collided with some passerby. After the collision, the guy fell to the ground. He shouted rudely to a passerby whether he was blind. Taking a closer look, the main character noticed his ex-girlfriend in the company of her new boyfriend. The main character was very upset and unpleasantly surprised to see his ex-girlfriend Lily. The new boyfriend asked the girl if it was her ex-boyfriend who was now meeting with them. Lily replied that this was no longer her boyfriend. The girl said that no one would love a poor and insignificantly powerless person. She told her new boyfriend that he was attractive and wealthy. The new guy started telling Lily various compliments and pleasantries. She romantically asked him not to tease her. The main character was in a very big shock. He could not believe that he was simply used. The guy and the girl were about to leave. Then she turned around and told the main character that he had taken his job. To prove his superiority, the guy told the main character that he took away not only his job but also his girlfriend. The guy also asked what the main character could do against him now. Will he really hit him? The guy was beside himself with rage. The negative events made him angry and he hit his girlfriend's new boyfriend. The main character beat the guy non-stop. He decided to take it out on him for all his failures. Lily's girl was very scared. She called the main character Ning Tao and asked if he was smart. The beaten guy asked her to bring security. Lily ran to the corporation building and threatened Ning Tao that the guards would now teach him a lesson. Having beaten his rival, the main character threatened that he was not afraid of him and sooner or later he would still become rich. Ning Tao confirmed with confidence in his voice that he would become rich no matter the cost. Suddenly, the main character was distracted by a message from a parallel dimension. Ning Tao heard a question from the system whether he was really ready to give everything to become rich. The guy was very surprised. He couldn't understand exactly where he clearly heard this question from. Ning Tao was startled by an invisible voice from the side. He asked his interlocutor who he was. The system answered the guy that it doesn't matter who she is, she just has to give her the answer. The system repeated the question whether the guy is really ready to give everything to become rich. Ning Tao, already tired and annoyed, replied that the system should not talk nonsense to him. The guy didn't really believe in what was happening and just to make the system fall behind, he confirmed to it that he was ready for anything. At this moment, the systemic process of loading and transforming the main character began. Ning Tao was very shocked by what was happening. He saw a table with parameters in front of him. The system reported that an influential shareholder of Chenya Corporation named Tang Shan transferred his shares to the main character, Mr. Ten, then passed away. The main character was very surprised. He could not believe that his life had changed in one moment. At this time, Lily ran out of the corporation building, accompanied by security guards, and pointed them towards Ning Tao. The head of security called the main character a reckless brat and asked sternly how he dared to beat the guy. The guards surrounded Ning Tao. They thought that it was better to do with him. Someone continued to break his arms or legs, another suggested hanging him naked from a tree. The main character became bolder and told the guards that he was the second most influential shareholder in Chenya Corporation. Such words greatly amused Lily and her boyfriend. They did not believe the main character and considered his words a hilarious joke. The guards were also amused by Ning Tao's words that he was an influential shareholder. One guard called himself the director and the other the chairman. Lily's boyfriend shouted to the security guards to teach the main character a lesson. One of the guards prepared to beat Ning Tao. He thought that all the messages about his transformation from the system turned out to be a lie. There was a cry from the side calling on everyone to stop. The guard near the main character was surprised. People in black suits intervened in the fight. One of them grabbed the guard and managed to protect Ning Tao. The man in black arrived on time. He held the guard, preventing him from attacking the main character. Ning Tao was amazed by the unexpected rescue. he still could not understand exactly what was happening. The man in the suit quickly and professionally dealt with the corporate security guards. At this time, Ning Tao looked at everything that was happening with great impression. He could not understand what kind of superhero it was that appeared just in time for him. Then, out of nowhere, several more people in black suits appeared, bowed and greeted the main character. A man came up from the side and greeted Ning Tao. He identified himself as his lawyer named Gao Li. The lawyer told the main character that Mr. Ten asked him for something. Gao Li gave the main character a document confirming the complete transfer of shares to him. Ning Tao was overwhelmed with emotions. At the same time, he decided that he should behave calmly. The girl Lily, along with her boyfriend and the guards, were greatly amazed that Ning Tao told them the truth. The main character took the documents from the lawyer's hands, he studied them and prepared to sign. Trying to look as calm as possible, Ning Tao asked the lawyer how much money he would receive by signing the documents. The lawyer answered clearly that the main character will receive at least 100 million. Those around him were surprised. Ning Tao signed the documents and returned them to the lawyer. He replied that everything was fine. The main character was very happy, although he tried to hide his emotions from those around him. A holiday reigned in his soul. Ning Tao was very happy. The system told him the truth, and from that moment his life changed completely. Having mustered up a fair amount of courage, Ning Tao asked those around him which of them wanted to teach him a lesson. The guards were scared. They didn't know what to answer and decided to shift the blame onto each other. The girl decided to flee. The guards all began to blame Lily's new boyfriend. Lily's new boyfriend was doomed. He realized that there was no way for him to be saved and he could not justify himself. Ning Tao ordered the guards to strip the guy and hang him on a tree, and they began to carry out the execution. The guy was very scared by this turn of events. He asked the guards what they were doing. The guards, in order to remove the blame from themselves, decided to beat up the now new boyfriend of the girl Lily. He asked them in fear what they were doing. After that, the guards began beating the guy with joyful screams. After a full execution, the system issued a message that Li Tian was knocked out. The main character was very happy and satisfied. A wonderful feeling filled him. Then a voice suddenly came from the entrance to the corporation building. The manager angrily asked the main character why he was still here. The irritated manager ran out into the street. He called Ning Tao useless trash and said that he would never give him a job. Going out into the street, the manager encountered people who looked at him with obvious contempt. The manager got scared. He realized that something was going wrong. He did not yet know what changes had happened in the fate of the main character. The lawyer looked sternly at the manager and said that he wanted to remind him of something important. Then the lawyer pointed to the main character and said that he was their second most influential shareholder. The manager was very surprised. He didn't understand when Ning Tao managed to become the second most influential shareholder. Ning Tao asked the lawyer if he now has the right to fire workers. He confirmed this to the main character. The lawyer pointed to the manager and said that Ning Tao could fire him. The main character slowly and judiciously began to voice his decision to those around him. Ning Tao, with maximum solemnity and confidence in his voice, pointed to the manager and said that he was fired. The manager fell to his knees in front of the main character and tearfully began to ask him not to fire him. The main character turned to a man in a black suit for help. Ning Tao strictly and unequivocally ordered the guard to throw the manager out. A security guard in a suit, without asking any questions, threw out the annoying manager with one blow. The fired manager was left lying on the street next to one of the previously beaten guards. The girl Lily, standing from afar, watched the main character in safety. After a showdown near the corporation building, Lily approached the main character and told him that she had just been possessed. Lily said with maximum pity in her voice that her new boyfriend Li Tian was very unreliable. She invited Ning Tao to get back together. The main character looked at the girl with great skepticism. She was no longer interested in him. Lily, pressing the guy's hand to her, told him very sensually that she had always loved him. The main character kicked the girl and told her that he does not like women of easy virtue. At this time, Li Tian came to his senses after the beating. He told the main character that he could not do whatever he wanted with money. Ning Tao looked at his opponent with a smile and said that he has money and in reality can do whatever he wants. The main character approached the lawyer and asked him if he had brought the money. The lawyer asked one of the men in black to give him a suitcase. The lawyer opened the suitcase in front of the main character. Inside it was full of cash. The lawyer told the main character that he only took $1 million for his petty expenses. Ning Tao went to the suitcase and grabbed a whole stack of banknotes. The main character threw up a wad of money and they scattered to the sides. Ning Tao turned to those around him and told them to beat Li Tian further. The main character said that everyone who beats his enemy will receive $100. A large crowd gathered around the frightened Li Tian. Everyone was ready to beat him and make money from it. While the others were beating Li Tian, the main character went off to enjoy his life wasting money around. Ning Tao walked along the central street of the city. Passers-by paid attention to him from all sides. The system gave the guy a message that the initial task was completed and the spending system was activated. The main character felt as if in prostration. The system showed him his personal document. Ning Tao saw all his personal information in the document, including his skills. The main character was happy. He received a message that he needed to give a name to the system. Without thinking twice, the main character said that the name of the system would be Xiaoba. The system sent a message confirming the protagonist's answer. Ning Tao received the task of spending money as much as possible. The punishment for a failed idea would be castration for him. The main character was afraid of possible punishment. He did not believe that the system could be so cruel and bloody. The system sent a message demanding that the owner complete the task. He had less than 2 days left. Ning Tao, returning to reality, realized that he needed to live like a real spender. The main character looked to the side and saw that the lawyer was still standing there. Ning Tao called the lawyer a good guy and invited him to work for him. The lawyer replied that he already had a well-paid job. Ning Tao asked the lawyer to give him his bank account. The lawyer calmly answered the main character that he had misunderstood him. The guy interrupted his answer. At this time, the main character was working hard and typing on his smartphone. The lawyer carefully watched all of Ning Tao's actions, then the phone beeped in his pocket. The lawyer got distracted. He took out his phone and carefully read what kind of message he had received. Ning Tao happily told the lawyer that he had transferred him about 1 million. The lawyer read a message that confirmed his receipt of a money transfer for 1 million. The lawyer was very happy. He asked Ning Tao what instructions he would have for him. He promised to do whatever the main character wants. The guy told the lawyer to first go and sign a share transfer agreement. The lawyer rushed to follow the guy's instructions faster than lightning. He almost knocked over the girls nearby. The lawyer shouted to the girls not to block his path. Ning Tao was surprised by the energy of his lawyer. After that, the main one went to the car dealership. He decided to spend some money there too. Ning Tao approached the car dealership and decided that his next decision would be to buy himself a good car. The main character was walking near a car dealership. There were cars of the latest models inside. Ning Tao decided to go inside. He was determined and had no intention of saving. The main character was surrounded by saleswomen consultants, they vying with each other to offer him their services. Ning Tao noticed that all the surrounding girls were very friendly. He wanted to contact them. The car dealership workers paid attention to the main character. His clothes and shoes were very cheap. In an instant, the girls became indifferent to Ning Tao. They decided that he was very poor. The main character was very angry. He thought to himself that the girls would regret this. One of the workers nevertheless decided to approach Ning Tao. She asked him what car he would like to see. The guy definitely asked the girl to show him the most expensive car. The girl smiled at the main character and asked him to follow her. The rest of the workers couldn't believe that the guy would have money for a car. The girl led the main character to the most expensive car in their showroom. Ning Tao stood in front of the latest Rolls-Royce luxury car. The saleswoman told him that the price of a Rolls-Royce Phantom car was 6,200,000. The guy liked the car and ran around it in admiration. In a fit of curiosity, the main character approached the car door and wanted to get into it. The main character did not have time to get into the Rolls-Royce. There was an angry scream from the side that made him stop. The female manager strictly told Ning Tao not to touch the car as he would not be able to pay for it. A couple of other shoppers watched nearby. The main character got angry. He didn't understand why the manager was looking down on him. The manager turned to a girl named Su Zhan and asked why she brought the poor client here. A rich overweight guy stood nearby with his model girlfriend. They laughed at the main character and told him to go to the toy store. The female manager approached the main character and pushed him aside. The manager willingly showed the rich couple the latest new model of Rolls-Royce car. The girl was very amazed. She said the car was just amazing. A friend asked her rich boyfriend to buy her this car. The girl came closer to her friend and, in order to impress, she decided to rub her breasts against him. The rich guy took out a credit card. He asked the manager what the price of the car was. She answered him that 6,200,000. After the guy heard this price, his enthusiasm diminished greatly. The rich client was amazed at the price of 6,200,000 was expensive for him. The guy looked at his girlfriend and decided that the amount of 6,200,000 would be excessive for 2 nights. The manager demanded that the rich client give her a card. The girl told the guy that this is the car she wants. A rich guy showed his girlfriend a budget small car and said that this car suits her better. The girl was angry with her boyfriend and she didn't want a cheap car. The manager probably remembered the guy that he said that he would buy an expensive Rolls-Royce. The main character intervened in the conversation and told those around him to step aside. Ning Tao slowly took out his golden card from his pocket with a large score on it. The main character handed the card to the girl and said that he was buying a car. The female manager and a couple of wealthy clients were very surprised by the protagonist's purchase. The girl said that the total purchase amount would be 6,200,000. She added that she was honored to serve Ning Tao. The main character told the girl apologetically to round up the amount to 7 million. She asked why. The guy told her that the remaining 800,000 would be her tip. The girl was very happy. She even thought that she was dreaming all this. The female manager told Ning Tao that he had a maximum of 700 yuan on his card. The cash register confirmed that the payment was successful. Ning Tao received the car as his own. The people around were very surprised. Until the last moment they hoped that the main character had nothing in his soul. Ning Tao thought about it. He realized that the car dealership gives him the opportunity to spend more money in a short time. The main character told the girl manager that he wants the most expensive cars from each of the famous brands. The main character walked around the car dealership and bought cars of different models and colors. Ning Tao told the girl to simply choose a car and he could pay for it. The woman manager and rich clients were surprised. They saw the main character as a typical movie rich Asian. The girl wanted to return his card to the main character and said that his demands were inappropriate. Ning Tao answered her good-naturedly that luck is for kind-hearted people. The rich guy took his girlfriend by the hands and told them to leave. The girl was very angry at this request. She didn't want to leave the car dealership. As a result, the girlfriend hit her boyfriend in the groin and said that he was really poor. The girl ran up to Ning Tao and asked him to give her a lift. She said that she would be there tonight. The main character kicked the girl and calmly told her to leave. The woman manager realized that she now needed to save her life in such a situation. The main character strictly asked the female manager where she wanted to go. She scaredly asked him what he wanted to do. Ning Tao asked the girl to bring the general manager of the store to him. The store's general manager appeared. He asked the main character what he could do for him. Ning Tao told the boss to fire the female manager. The woman shouted back to him that it would not be so easy for him. The main character told the general manager that he could buy the entire store and fire them all if he did not fire the woman. The car dealership workers were very surprised. They knew it would take several $1 billion to buy the store. The main character sadly thought that those around him did not even suspect that he was being forced to squander money. The store's general manager felt very awkward. He didn't know what to do. One of the girls whispered to the general manager that Ning Tao is one of the most influential shareholders of Chinya Corporation. The general manager became bolder. He told the guy that he would now fire the female manager. The man strictly ordered the female manager to leave immediately. She didn't like this decision. The general manager didn't listen to her anymore. He kicked her and the rich guy's girlfriend. The female manager and the girl fell to the floor after being hit by the manager. The general manager was pleased with what he did. He realized that the woman's words were just empty chatter. The main character looked at what was happening without any emotion. The general manager turned to him. The general manager bowed to Ning Tao and asked him if he had any other instructions. Ning Tao held his golden card in his hands. He needed to spend more than 70 million more. The main character told the car dealership manager that he would take the Rolls-Royce first and come here for the rest later. The guy happily drove along the highway behind the wheel of a new and expensive car. Despite the fact that Ning Tao had a lot of money, he did not feel calm. The main character was still tormenting himself with the thought that he needed to spend 70 million. Passers-by on the streets paid attention to how expensive the main character's car was. Ning Tao decided to call his friends to help him spend all the money. The main character called his friend and suggested going to the Sunyan Hotel. he did not believe that he was being invited to the most expensive hotel in the city. A friend asked the main character incredulously if he had gone crazy. After that, Ning Tao shouted to his friend not to talk nonsense and to quickly come to him. The main character drove up to the hotel and was amazed by its huge size. There were a lot of beautiful illuminated fountains around the hotel. Although it was already evening outside, the square in front of the hotel was illuminated with bright lamps. Ning Tao was very shocked. For him, the Sunyun Hotel turned out to be very stylish. The main character thought that his friends had not arrived yet. He saw a crowd at the entrance to the hotel. Ning Tao heard an irritated conversation nearby. Someone made excuses that he had already apologized. Near the entrance to the hotel, the guy made excuses to a rich man. He didn't like that he demanded 10,000 from him for stepping on his shoes. The man said that his shoe was worth 100,000. After that, the man ran out of patience. He kicked the guy and demanded money from him. The guy did not fall because Ning Tao managed to support him from behind in time. The guy was surprised to meet the main character here. The main character calmly asked his friend if everything was okay. The guy wanted to tell the main character the details of everything that happened. Ning Tao said that he would figure it out himself. Ning Tao decided not to bother. He threw the wad of money at the man's feet. The main character told the man strictly to take these 10,000. A friend told the main character that this man was simply blackmailing them. Ning Tao decided to himself that he had the opportunity to spend a lot of money. The man looked at the main character with obvious anger. He did not understand where he came from here. After this, the man turned to the doorman and said how he could allow such people to come here. The doorman promised the man that he would get these people out of here right now. The main character thought to himself that he had not even taken revenge yet for the fact that the man pushed his friend. After that, Ning Tao pushed away the doorman who wanted to take him away with all his might. The main character began throwing bundles of money and told his friend to step on the man's shoes as much as possible. The guy liked this request from the main character. He approached the man, anticipating the opportunity to get even. The guy began to trample on the man's shoes with all his might without stopping. As a result, the man's shoe was completely worn out and destroyed. The man grabbed his leg. It hurt him. Ning Tao threw him a wad of money for treatment. After this, the main character told the man to never blackmail others in the future. Ning Tao and his friends turned around and wanted to leave. The man asked him angrily if he knew who he was. The main character, without any emotion, turned to the man and asked if he was a shoe salesman. The man identified himself as the owner of Ma's jewelry stores. He said that he could strangle anyone with his money. People in the crowd began to talk among themselves and called the man Ma Feng. Someone said that even the toilet in his house is made of pure gold. Ning Tao was happy because he had the opportunity to show his extravagance. The main character decided to start spending as soon as possible. He called the doorman over to him. The guy ordered the doorman 3 bottles of vintage collection wine. Very quickly, the female waitresses brought the main character his wine on trays. Ma Feng realized that he had come to show him through himself. He was thinking about what to spend the money on. As a result, the man ordered that all the supplies of the best Mao Tai be brought to him. After Ma Feng was brought supplies of an expensive drink, he decided to wash his feet in it. Ma Feng told the main character that he would not understand his increase since he is a poor man. The main character said that he wants to buy all the Kobe beef and black caviar at the restaurant. He wants to feed his dog. Ma Feng asked the doorman how much the Red Sea mineral cost. The doorman replied that the price of this coral was 300,000. Ma Feng said that he would give 400,000 and smashed the coral with all his might. Ning Tao pointed to the green stone and asked the doorman how much it cost. He replied that the price of this rare jade is 500,000. The main character said that he was giving 600,000 and immediately after that he broke the stone. Ma Feng was determined to continue the competition. He didn't want to give up. The main character also got a taste for it. He still had plenty of money. After this, the main character and the owner of the jewelry stores continued to destroy furniture and interior items in the hotel. The protagonist's friends, looking at his actions, decided that he was now on drugs. Suddenly, something distracted Ning Tao and Ma Feng. They heard the voice of an old man from the side. The old man said that he had just fallen and asked one of the guys to help him. Ma Feng was delighted to be able to spend a lot of money at once. He shouted to the old man that he would help him. After this, the man immediately grabbed the old man in his arms and he was surprised. The people around were very surprised. They realized that the owner of the jewelry stores was really rich. Ma Feng said that he helps 10 frail old people every day. He added that Ning Tao could not possibly compare with him. The main character had some thoughts. He decided to ruin Ma Feng. Ning Tao looked at his opponent and said that he was really naive. After that, the main character took out his phone and said that Ma Feng got it. The main character promised the owner of jewelry stores that he would bankrupt him with just one call. At this time, Ma Feng's mobile phone rang in his pocket. The jewelry magnate picked up the phone. One of his subordinates called him. The subordinate told Ma Feng in fear that the price of their company's shares had fallen sharply. The man was unpleasantly surprised by this information. The subordinate said that someone was manipulating the stock prices. Ma Feng decided to try to rectify the situation. He called and began to wait for an answer. The man looked at the main character and wondered if this was all his doing. At this time, the hotel doorman approached, accompanied by a group of other workers. The hotel employees told Ma Feng that his credit card was blocked and he broke 10 million worth of things here. Hearing such words, the rescued old man grabbed Ma Feng's clothes and angrily called him a beggar. The jewelry magnate promised that he would return to the company and get the money. Ma Feng was unable to escape from the hotel. The doorman blocked his way. The doorman strictly told the man that he would not be able to escape after he had destroyed all their things in the hotel. Ma Feng was very scared. He had no way to pay for the losses. He asked the doorman what he could do. The hotel workers decided to beat up the owner of the jewelry stores because he did not pay them. After the execution, Ma Feng lay practically unconscious, at which time the main character slowly approached him. Ning Tao cheerfully asked Ma Feng, who was lying on the floor, how he was feeling now. The main character asked his defeated opponent if he still wanted to compete with him. Ma Feng asked the guy to spare him and admitted that he was wrong and the main character is the richest. Ning Tao said that he would spare the jewelry magnate. He demanded that Ma Feng pay him 10 million. The man became very worried. He said that he could not pay 10 million because his card was blocked. The main character invited his opponent to write him a check. He happily agreed. Ma Feng excitedly handed the main character a check for 10 million. The main character took the check and joyfully thought to himself that 10 million had been received. After this, Ma Feng reminded Ning Tao to help his company recover. Ning Tao turned to the system via telephone to stop manipulating the stock price. Suddenly, the jewelry store owner's phone rang. Ma Feng asked excitedly what happened to the company's shares, submissively replied that the price had returned to normal. The man bowed to the main character and thanked him for everything. Ning Tao told Ma Feng to get out of here. The jewelry magnate fell to the floor and decided to happily leave the hotel. Ma Feng rolled to the side along the floor and crashed into the wall. The main character called the shop owner trash to his friend. Ning Tao's friend told him joyfully that he was now a new hero for him. The guy wanted to hug the main character. He told him to back off because it was disgusting. The main character noticed that his other friend with blue hair was standing and silent. Apparently, the friend wanted to say something to Ning Tao, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. After this, the friend confidently told the main character that he would become gay for his sake. Ning Tao was very surprised by these words. He thought for a long time what to answer to his friend. The main character also hugged his friend and told him not to even dare think about it. Ning Tao went with his friends to the most expensive restaurant. There was live music there. The main character and his friends enjoyed expensive food around the musicians. Ning Tao ordered only the most expensive wines for himself and his comrades. The main character treated his friends to a lot of expensive food. Ning Tao and his friends were dancing in a restaurant with beautiful girlfriends. After a hearty dinner, the main character decided to return to his room. From the abundance of food and drinks he was tormented by belching. Ning Tao took a shower before going to bed and decided that he felt just fine. The main character fell onto the bed and calculated that he had spent 20 million today. There was another 50 million left to spend. Ning Tao closed his eyes and thought that he was facing an absolutely relaxing and pleasant task. The guy was distracted from his dreams by a message from the system. She asked if he was really so naive. The system took the form of a large bluish ball in front of the main character. Ning Tao was scared. He decided that a ghost had appeared in front of him. The system replied that she was not a ghost, but Xiaoba. The guy asked the system why it came in the form of a transaction late at night and he got scared. Xiaoba said that she came to notify Ning Tao. Xiaoba told the guy that he owed her 40 points. the daily percentage is 1 point. The main character was very surprised. He asked the system how long he had been in debt. Xiaoba said that the guy owes money for the gold card and for manipulating shares. The main character was very surprised. He shouted to the system that he understood absolutely nothing. Ning Tao calmed down. He decided to ask Xiaobai about the glasses in detail. The main character asked with interest what benefit he would get from the points he earned. Xiaoba was surprised that the main character didn't even know about it. Ning Tao said that she didn't even tell him about it. Xiaoba said that the main character with 1 point from the system can even become a super scion. Ning Tao asked the system with interest how he could get points besides completing tasks. Xiaoba told him that when he spends 100,000, he only gets 1 point. The main character was happy. He decided that today he had earned a lot of points. The system told the guy that he should only spend money that he earned. Ning Tao said that he spent a lot of money and did not earn a single point at all. Xiaoba confirmed that everything was so. The system was about to leave. She reminded the guy to pay as soon as possible. The main character shouted at the system to wait for him. He had more questions. Ning Tao asked the worried man what would happen to him if he could not return what he owed. Xiaobai fell silent. She searched and thought in detail about the answer to the guy's question. After a long pause, the system turned to the guy and said that the answer to his question was secret. After that, Xiaobai disappeared and the main character remained sitting on the bed in surprise. The next day, Ning Tao walked down the street, accompanied by guards, and all passers-by looked askance at him. The main character understood that after what he learned, he now needs to change his life. Ning Tao thought to himself that after the information from Xiaoba, he did not sleep the whole night. The guy understood that he did not know the deadline for paying for the points. If he doesn't pay on time, there will be consequences. The main character ordered his subordinates to take the cars he bought. He ordered one of the guards to go with him to the advertising agency. Ning Tao realized that he had to complete all the tasks as soon as possible in order to pay on time. The main character, heading to his car, decided that this time he would make a big scene. The main character decided to come to Jiangnan University to implement his plan. Many expensive cars drove up to the area near the university, including a Rolls-Royce from Ning Tao. The students were very surprised by the expensive cars. They couldn't believe that a rich guy came to their university. At the same time, the doors of all the cars opened and the protagonist's subordinates came out. His 2 guards prepared a red carpet to unroll on the sidewalk. When the Rolls-Royce with Tao arrived at the university, the security guards laid out the red carpet for him. The driver opened the door and the main character came out and all the students looked at him. Ning Tao walked slowly along the red carpet with his guards towards the university. The subordinates stood next to the path and they all bowed and greeted Ning Tao. The students were surprised to see Ning Tao become rich. He once studied at this university. Ning Tao greeted his classmates. The students swore their love to him and the students wanted to be his friends. The main character approached the platform, where his guards placed a golden chair for him. Ning Tao slowly sat down on the chair. He enjoyed the joyful cries of his former classmates. Several students ran up to the main character. They wanted to hug him. Ning Tao didn't like the fact that female students were allowed to see him. He gave instructions to the guards. The guards immediately took the students away. They desperately resisted. After a long pause, the main character greeted everyone present through the microphone. Ning Tao told all the students that he came here today to announce something. The students began to guess what their former classmate would tell them. Someone even suggested that the main character bought himself a university. Ning Tao waited a little and told his guard that they could start. The guard said into the radio for all units to get ready as they were starting. An oppressive silence reigned. All the students waited and assumed what was about to happen. Suddenly, everyone present heard a distant rumble and the noise gradually grew closer. One of the students pointed to the side and told everyone to look there. All the students noticed how helicopters appeared in the distance with large banners hanging on them. The helicopters carried advertising banners. The main character wanted to hire himself a maid for a generous payment. The same advertisement appeared on billboards near the university. Ning Tao wanted a maid for himself for a generous payment. The students were very surprised by the advertisement of the main character. Someone even said that Ning Tao is some kind of maniac. The main character at this time lit a cigarette from a banknote. All the guests present could not believe that he had wasted so much to find himself a maid. Ning Tao did not pay attention to what was said around him. He exhaled cigarette smoke and decided to address the people. The main character told the students that he was offering them not an easy job. After this, Ning Tao specifically indicated that he needed only one maid and it should be the most beautiful girl. The students decided that the main character simply wants to find a mistress. After thinking a little, the students decided that no one was paying attention to them. After this, the girls all began to offer themselves to the main character. Ning Tao told all the girls not to worry, he will interrogate them all one by one. The main character said that the first candidate should come forward. A beautiful girl in a miniskirt slowly walked towards the main character. Ning Tao noticed that this applicant has very large and beautiful breasts. All the students were delighted with this girl. Someone shouted to the main character not to choose her as she is known for her easy behavior. The applicant approached the main character, she straightened her hair and called him handsome. The girl said with an innocent look to Ning Tao that she wanted to work for him. After that, the student blew a kiss to the main character. Ning Tao, with an indignant look, took the wooden spatula in his hands and showed that he was fighting off this air kiss. The guy drove the girl away from him and said that she was not qualified enough. The student asked him in disappointment why he rejected her because she had a beautiful face and figure. Ning Tao simply answered her that he doesn't like those girls who flirt. Another student applicant came up and shouted that she spends every night in some bar. There was even a viral scandal with her on the internet. The main character simply replied to this applicant so that she would get lost. Ning Tao raised his palm up and told everyone that they were continuing the selection. A student approached and told Ning Tao that she could breathe fire. He advised her to go help Captain America save the world. Another contender stated that she could recite poetry. The main character told her to come back and focus on her studies. The cleaning lady came up and said that she could sort the garbage well. The guy told her that this was not the place. The main character shouted to all the applicants to leave, otherwise they are like an eyesore for him. A man dressed as a girl approached, he told the main character to choose him. Ning Tao hit this challenger on the head with all his might and told him to get lost. The main character was very disappointed that there were no normal candidates. Then the guy heard a timid female voice who apologized to him. A girl with bright red hair asked the guy if he was hiring any more applicants. The main character was very amazed, the approaching red-haired beauty captured his entire consciousness. Ning Tao looked at the approaching applicant with relentless attention, her green eyes expressed an absolutely innocent look. One of the students said that it was the university beauty Yi Tun Tun who came up, she could not resist the temptation of big money. Ning Tao was very much delighted and enchanted by the girl who approached. The main character, having regained the power of speech, told the girl that he was hiring her and asked her name. The beauty said that her name is Yi Tun Tun. She asked the guy if she could try. Ning Tao told the girl that she did not need to try anything and she was hired. Yi Tong Tun asked modestly and timidly how much she would receive. The surrounding students could not believe that the beauty Yi Tun Tun had left them for money. The main character decided to calculate the maid's salary during the probationary period. As a result, Ning Tao told the student that she would receive 200,000 monthly along with food and housing. He also promised to give her a BMW. Those present were very surprised that the former student would earn so much. The main character said naively, "Wouldn't that be enough?" Then a huge number of people who wanted to work for him flocked to Ning Tao. They begged for anyone to take them to the position. The main character realized that it was time to leave. He grabbed the girl's hand. Ning Tao held Yi Tong Tong's hand and quickly led her to his car. The main character shouted to the girl to quickly get into his car. The rest of the students ran after the protagonist's car and asked him to wait for them. The main character, sitting in the car, exhaled joyfully and relaxed, everything was already behind us. Ning Tao rode safely with the girl in the car. He said that the students were very interested. Yi Tong Tun shyly reminded the main character of his hand. He didn't immediately understand what it was about. Only now Ning Tao noticed that he was still holding the girl's hand while sitting in the car. The guy removed his hand and told the girl that he didn't do all this on purpose. The main character thought that the girl's hands were very soft. He imagined how good it would be for them to be together in the future. Ning Tao was completely immersed in his thoughts of daydreaming and thinking. He even laughed to himself. Yi Tun Tun looked at the main character and decided that he didn't seem like a bad person to her. The beauty thought that she initially mistook the main character for a pervert because he put on such a performance just to find the maid. The girl also remembered that the guy blushed because he held her hand. The student thought that the guy offered her a big salary, she will be able to pay for her father's treatment. Suddenly, the main character, as if remembering something important, shouted loudly. Ning Tao remembered that he was looking for a maid, but he still forgot to buy a villa for himself. Yi Tun Tun thought to herself that the guy was not a pervert at all, but just an idiot. The guy and the girl arrived at a large building. It was a real estate agency. Ning Tao ordered his guards to stay near the entrance. The main character and his new maid entered the building. He wanted to buy himself a villa. The saleswoman asked the guy and the girl if they were buying a villa for their wedding. Ning Tao answered the saleswoman that they were not getting married, he just wanted to buy a villa here. The guy thought that if the girl were his wife it would be wonderful. The saleswoman told the guy that he could come up and take a look himself. The realtor showed the houses. They were very expensive, the price ranged from 20 to 26 million. The girl thought to herself, the price of 20 million seemed very expensive to her. Ning Tao thought to himself that the higher the price, the better it would be for him. Then the guy heard from the side how other clients came out. They also wanted to buy a house. A young rich guy in glasses walked into a real estate agency with his girlfriend. He promised to buy her a villa. Ning Tao shouted to the guy that he was the first to see the villa and the rich client did not pay attention to him. The rich guy threw his card at the main character and told him to take $500,000 and get out of here. The girl asked the main character if everything was fine with him. She suggested that he choose another house. Then the young guy saw the girl Yi Tun Tun and he liked her very much. The guy ran around the girl and shouted at her to become his woman. He promised to make sure she didn't need anything. Then his girlfriend approached the young guy and called him con and a playboy. He happily replied that women love bad guys. Ning Tao demanded information about con from the system. Xiaoba said that the information would be worth 10 points. She said that Han Wen is the only son of Han Qinghe, the shareholder of Qianya Company. Ning Tao thought that the Han guy took his villa and humiliated his girl. He decided to take revenge on him. Han approached the saleswoman and said that he wanted to buy this house. He gave her a card. Ning Tao realized that the time had come to act. He called his guard named Xiao He. A guard named Xiao He arrived. He shouted to the main character that he was here. After that, Xiao He took away Han's credit card. Han was very angry. He could not understand who pushed him. He asked the guard in fear what he wanted to do. Without any emotion, Xiao He grabbed the credit card and crushed it. Han was very surprised and annoyed. He couldn't believe that he had lost his card. Ning Tao told Han that he could not take his villa for only 26 million. The main character put a gold card on the counter and said that he was sure that he was paying 30 million. Han shouted angrily to his opponent that he was the first who dared to compete with him in monetary expenses. Ning Tao shouted angrily in response to Han that he was the first who dared to insult his maid. Guy Han took out another of his credit cards from his pocket and threw it on the counter. Han shouted to the main character that he could not leave so easily after he destroyed his card. He added that he was paying 50 million for the villa. Ning Tao and his girlfriend were very surprised. The amount of 50 million amazed them. The main character decided not to retreat. He shouted confidently that he would pay 90 million. Everyone around was amazed that the amount of 90 million was absolutely unrealistic. Ning Tao shouted at Han so that he should not even try to defeat him. He demanded that he apologize to the girl Yi Tong Tong. The main character demanded that Han admit defeat. He added that he had enough money to bury him alive. Han continued to listen to the ridicule from the protagonist. Ning Tao said that he was very poor. The Han guy realized that he had nothing to lose. He took out all his credit cards and said that he would pay 100 million. The saleswoman was very surprised. She could not imagine how much commission she would receive for a transaction of 100 million. Han asked the main character if he would continue to compete. He suggested raising the rate. Ning Tao answered judiciously and calmly that he would probably stop now. Guy Han was very surprised by this answer. He thought of continuing to raise the bids for the villa. The main character said that he would not pay 100 million for a villa that costs only 20, it would make him look like a fool. Hania's girlfriend told him that he was a fool. He spent 5 times more money than he needed to. The girl continued to insult Khan. She called him a fool and told them to break up. As a result, Han realized very sadly and upset that he had been fooled. Ning Tao and his girlfriend Yi Tong Tong walked away to look at the other pitchforks. Han looked after them angrily. The main character pointed to the villa and asked the saleswoman how much it cost. The saleswoman joyfully and cheerfully replied that the price of this villa is only 27 million. The main character told the saleswoman that he would pay 30 million for everything. Han watched this all closely. Han approached and emotionally shouted that he was ready to pay 50 million for everything. Ning Tao was unpleasantly surprised. He didn't want to see this guy again. Han happily said that he bets higher. He said that he would only give in after the main character raised the price. The main character decided to continue the competition on the price of the villa with Han. The Han guy noticed that his opponent was hesitating. He realized that he needed to provoke him. After this, Han told the main character that he was a worthless piece of crap without a penny. Unexpectedly, Ning Tao answered the guy that he was giving up and he could take the house for himself. Guy Han was very surprised by this answer. He realized that he lost in this battle. The saleswoman handed Han a payment terminal and said that he had to pay 150 million. Han understood that he could not pay for the purchased property. Han called the main character a willful scoundrel. He didn't have enough money to pay for all the villas. Ning Tao replied that this was not his problem. The saleswoman asked Han if he really couldn't pay for the villas. After this, the saleswoman very angrily asked the guy why he immediately raised the prices. The saleswoman turned around and called the guards from the next room. Healthy and angry guards came into the hall and decided to teach Han Yu a lesson. The guards beat the young guy and shouted at him not to pretend to be rich if he was broke. After the execution, the system sent the guy a notification that Han had been neutralized. The main character was delighted. He told the saleswoman that he wanted that villa that cost 30 million. Ning Tao asked Xiaoba to show him the progress of his assignment. The system reported that the guy spent 20 million, he only had 2 hours left. The main character looked at Yi Tun Tun and cunningly decided that he had an idea. The main character and his girlfriend Yi Tun Tun arrived at a luxury clothing store. The girl tried on a huge amount of expensive and most elite clothes. For Yi Tun Tun, such expensive outfits were unusual since she was just an ordinary student. Ning Tao enthusiastically told the girl that he was buying absolutely everything that she had just tried on. Yi Tun Tun said that you don't need to buy everything. The guy was surprised. He asked if she didn't like expensive clothes. The girl pointed her finger at the expensive pendant and said that the jewelry was very expensive. The main character told the apologetically surprised girl that she was stupid. Ning Tao told Yi Tong Tong that only such clothes would suit his maid. The girl was very amazed. She looked at the main character with a surprised look. The guy was very happy. At that moment he felt romantic feelings for the girl. At this moment, the main character decided that the moment had come to kiss Yi Tun Tun. Xiaoba told the guy that he had completed the task and he received 250 points and the second level. Ning Tao said that the system disturbed him at the wrong time. Xiaoba told the guy that he had unlocked a lot of things. The main character's strength and agility have increased, various elixirs have become available in the store. Ning Tao was happy because the skills he acquired were useful to him. He needed to work hard to earn more points. The main character thought that the system was under his control, so he can easily score more points. Then armed men broke into the store building. The commander ordered them to arrest the target after attracting them. Armed soldiers began to surround the protagonist from all sides. Ning Tao was very amazed at what was happening. He didn't know what to do. The main character was thinking to himself why he might be detained. He didn't remember breaking the law. Ning Tao could not figure out what was happening. The armed men stood silently around him. Then a man in civilian clothes approached. He asked the main character if his name was Ning Tao. After this, the man showed his ID and said that the main character was suspected of bank robbery. He told him to go with him to the station. The main character got a little angry. The accusations against him were incomprehensible. Yi Tun Tun told the policeman that there was some mistake. He replied that there was no mistake and someone said about Ning Tao. The policeman ordered that the main character be arrested. Ning Tao replied in a weakening voice that he was dizzy. The main character was arrested and brought to the police. He sat in the interrogation room. The policeman told the guy that the bank had been robbed for 100 million. An anonymous source said that Ning Tao received a large amount of money from unknown sources. The main character thought who could have snitched on him. It could have been Li Tian or Foam Lily. The investigator slammed the table roughly and shouted to the main character that he had asked him a question. The policeman told the investigator that they could do without violence. The main character quietly told the policeman that they simply could have made a mistake. Ning Tao said cheerfully that he is an ordinary student and does not have much money. He invited the police to check his bank account. The policeman then grabbed the protagonist's hand, which was wearing an expensive watch. After that, the policeman said slyly and angrily that the guy could not be an ordinary student. The policeman pointed out that an ordinary student cannot afford an expensive watch. The main character thought that he had just bought this expensive watch at the mall. After this, the policeman demanded that the protagonist tell only the truth. Ning Tao realized that the security forces were very well prepared. He had no chance to deceive them. The main character realized that he had no other choice. He told the police that he would tell the whole truth. Ning Tao calmly and naturally said that he became rich thanks to the money-burning system. The guy said that the system is 100 million. He needs to spend it in a week, otherwise he will be castrated. He is forced to burn this money and he has nothing to do with the robbery. The policeman and the researcher were very surprised. They did not expect to hear such nonsense from the guy. The security forces shouted threateningly to the main character that no one would believe him and they were not idiots. The policeman demanded that the guy tell the truth, otherwise he would not go anywhere. Ning Tao replied that he had already told them the truth but they did not believe him. At this time, unexpectedly, the door to the interrogation room was broken down from the outside. The police looked away in amazement and the main character was delighted. A lawyer in a suit entered. He turned to the main character and asked for forgiveness for being late. Lawyer Gao Li told the guy that he was his faithful servant who had come to save him. The policeman told the lawyer that he had a fine for speeding and demanded that he pay it. Lawyer Gao Li realized that he was a little hasty. He decided to clean himself up. The lawyer decided to slowly comb his hair first and calm down a little at this time. The lawyer prepared to speak in defense of his client. He adjusted his glasses. Gao Li told the main character not to worry. He would do all the work for him. Ning Tao was glad that the lawyer was here. He could have figured it out himself, but he decided to let Gao Li do it. The lawyer asked the police if they had any evidence to keep his client here. The policeman said they received a tip about a bank robbery. 100 million were transferred to Ning Tao's account. The lawyer hit the table with all his might and said threateningly that all this was nonsense. The lawyer said that Ning Tao is the largest shareholder of the company. The sum of 100 million is small change for him. Gao Li pointed out that the main character lost a lot due to the actions of the police. Now they must be held accountable for this. Gao Li threatened the security forces that he could complain about them and call the media here. The police began to make excuses. They said that it was all a misunderstanding and perhaps there was a mistake by the informant. The main character told the lawyer that he is very happy that he has it. Gao Li replied that this was his job. Then a joyful girl Yi Tun Tun ran up to the main character from the side. The future maid hugged the guy and said that it was very good that he finally came out. The girl said that she was very worried. The policeman at the entrance did not let her in. Ning Tao was surprised that the girl was waiting for him here. The main character was very happy. He was ready to return to prison 100 times for the sake of the girl's attention. The girl said relaxedly that it was very good that the guy was finally released. Ning Tao was shocked by the girl's freeness. She stood and hugged him. Yi Tun Tun suddenly felt very shy and walked away from the guy. The girl apologized in fear and said that she needed to go to the toilet. She ran to the side. Ning Tao noticed that his future maid ran straight to the police station. The lawyer told the main character that the day after tomorrow there will be a meeting of the company's shareholders and he should participate there. Ning Tao suddenly became very worried about his participation in the shareholders' meeting. Gao Ling said that the main character inherited some of Mr. Tang's shares. He also said that Han Qinghe was already able to buy 4% of the shares. The main character remembered that Han Qinghe is the father of Han Wen. He thought that they were both freaks. At that moment, the guy received a message from the system that the mission had been activated. The mission was called Ding Dong and it had to be completed before the end of the shareholders' meeting. Due to failure to complete the mission, the guy was threatened with castration. The main character was lost in thought. He could not understand why all missions were always associated with possible castration. The main character thought, he didn't know how he could take control of all the shares of Han Qinghe in a short time. He didn't have enough money. Ning Tao thought that it was not worth the risk and he decided to reject the system's offer. The main character was distracted by a girl. En Tun Tun asked him why he was so worried. The girl also asked the guy what happened. He replied that these are all small things. Don't worry about it. The main character happily told the girl that they were returning to the villa tonight. The girl thought about it. She didn't like it that only the two of them would come to the villa. Ning Tao asked the girl if she had any problems. She replied that everything was fine. Late in the evening, the main character and his maid were in their luxurious villa. A guy in a robe next to a girl sat silently on the sofa. the oppressive silence continued. Ning Tao felt restless, as if he was sitting on pins and needles. Yi Tong Tun was embarrassed and didn't know what to say. The main character was very worried. For the first time he sat alone with his goddess. They watched cartoons on the big TV. The guy thought that if this continued, it would just be a movie night. Ning Tao thought deeply. He realized that he had to do something right now. The main character told the girl that the time has come for her to start doing her job. Yi Tong Tun apologized and said that she didn't know that these were working hours. She asked the guy not to fire him. She asked the main character what a maid should do. Ning Tao thought that she should put on the maid costume first. The girl shouted that she would immediately go and change clothes. Yi Tong Tun ran into her room and slammed the door. She needed to get herself in order before work. The girl was sitting in her room on a large bed and began to change clothes. To be a maid one had to wear a bright red uniform and white stockings. While getting dressed, the girl thought to herself that it was very strange for her to be a maid. Yi Tun Tun realized that she should have been prepared for this from the moment she got the job. After much preparation and dressing, the girl left her room. The main character was eating and watching TV at that time. He turned around and was very surprised. Yi Tong Tun very modestly asked the guy if she should look like this. The main character was very amazed. He looked at the girl with a loving gaze and said that she looked damn amazing. The girl modestly asked the guy if he was happy. He replied that he was completely satisfied. A little shy, the maid asked the main character what would happen next. Yi Tong Tun modestly and bashfully asked the guy what she should do next. Ning Tao thought very hard. He didn't know what to answer to his maid. The guy thought to himself that the girl was wearing a maid costume but still hadn't thanked him. At this time, in the Han family's house, the son complained to his father and demanded that he intercede for him. The son told his father that Ning Tao was able to fool him and he demanded that his father take revenge for him. The father looked at the photograph of the main character with hatred and indignation. He said it was outrageous. The man angrily said that he would not be gentle with Ning Tao since he had humiliated the honor of his family. The father angrily asked his son if he really had such a low intelligence that he was so easily deceived. The son answered his father that he had inherited such a mind from him. The father hit his son and told him to get out of here and he couldn't have such a stupid offspring. After that, Mr. Han told his assistant to find out all the information about Ning Tao. The man angrily thought that during the shareholders' meeting he wanted the main character to suffer. At this time, in the villa, the maid helped the main character with the housework and he gave her instructions. Ning Tao told the girl to be more gentle and faster. She clarified whether she was doing everything correctly. The main character was very happy. He joyfully told the girl that he was in complete bliss. The guy told the girl that she probably often gives people massages because she knew how to work with her hands. Yi Tun Tun replied that this was her first time. The main character thought to himself that the girl did everything beautifully the first time, but she also learns quickly. Ning Tao was distracted by the girl. She was on the sofa very close to him. The main character was completely absorbed by the sight of his maid's large breasts. The guy thought excitedly to himself that he was a dead man because the ancient seal was broken. To relieve his excitement, the guy decided to take a book lying nearby to distract himself. The main character opened the book and it turned out that it had erotic content. Ning Tao was afraid that the girl might find out about this. She would have taken him for a pervert. The main character prayed and asked the Almighty to send him an angel to help. At this time, the guy's phone rang. The main character was glad that the bell rang just in time. His friend called him. A friend told the main character that their friend Dapeng scratched a Ferrari on his scooter. The driver of the car is at fault but he wants them to pay him $1 million. The main character was very surprised by such a sum. He shouted to his friends to wait for him and he would be with them soon. The protagonist's friends stood and argued fiercely next to the Ferrari driver. The driver confidently told the guy that he had scratched his car, so he has to pay $1 million or he'll break his leg. The guy shouted angrily to the driver that when Tao arrived, he would see the light from shock. The driver said that he would kill Tao on the spot. At this time, the main character drove up to the place of conflict in his expensive Rolls-Royce. Ning Tao opened the doors and began to slowly go out. He managed to change into expensive clothes and shoes. The main character slowly took off his glasses and looked around with great attention. Ning Tao calmly and judiciously asked who said he wanted to bang him. The Ferrari driver got very angry. He hit his car with his hand and said that he would stop talking nonsense. The driver shouted threateningly to the protagonist's friend that if he didn't give them $1 million, he wouldn't be able to leave here. The guy answered the driver that the $1 million could only be in the bank, let him go and rob him. The driver was not at a loss. He menacingly and confidently stepped towards the guy. The driver lifted his t-shirt sleeve to show his tattoo of a predatory animal. The driver told the guy that he wanted to rob him instead of the bank. He said his nickname was Det Badass. After that, the driver threatened to kill the guy if he provoked him. The main character intervened in the conflict. He said in a calm tone that he would pay everything in full. Ning Tao said cheerfully that he could pay a whole $1 million by transferring the QR code. Friends shouted to the main character that he was crazy. Ning Tao was transferring money to the driver at this time. The money transfer went very quickly and the smartphone issued a message that the transfer was confirmed. The driver was very pleased. He told the main character that it's good that he knows what to do. The driver wanted to leave in his red Ferrari, then the main character called out to him. Ning Tao said slowly and thoughtfully that he paid the driver for the damage to his car, but what about their moped now? The driver said calmly that he was ready to pay full price for their junk. The main character thought sarcastically. He had a special plan for the full price of the moped. Ning Tao began excitedly to tell that their moped had a rocket engine and an aviation radar system along with tank armor. The main character said interestingly that their moped combines the sea, earth, sky, and space. Ning Tao added that the driver should not even think about leaving without paying at least $10 million. The driver was indignant. He said that their moped cannot cost $10 million. He said that he would not give the main character the money. The main character took out a megaphone and told the driver that if he didn't pay him, then he shouldn't come to him to cry. Ning Tao began to speak loudly into a megaphone so that all residents of the surrounding houses could hear. He insulted the Ferrari driver in every possible way. He came up with all sorts of nasty perversions and crimes against him. One resident of the house went out onto the balcony and thought that he had no idea that the driver was so disgusting. A woman from one apartment said that it was absolutely disgusting that the driver even slept with old women. The driver listened to great insults about himself from all sides and from all floors of the houses. After this, the driver menacingly shouted to the main character that he had made it all up and he had not done anything about it. Ning Tao told the driver to look at his phone. He can reveal his secrets to everyone. The driver was very surprised and could not understand how the guy was able to get all these incriminating photographs of him. Ning Tao replied to the driver that the system had already studied all his ins and outs. The driver was very scared. He fell to his knees in front of the main character. The driver told the guy that he would pay only so that Ning Tao would not spread information about him. The main character received a message on his smartphone. Their eye indicated that the bully transferred $10 million to him. Ning Tao was happy. He was very easily able to earn $10 million himself. The system gave the guy a message that the elixir of luck was available to him at a price of 500 points. Ning Tao thought about it. He now wanted to exchange his glasses for some kind of remedy. He had 390 points and was missing another 110 points. The main character hugged his friends and said that he wanted to take them where they had never gone before. Friends were delighted and asked if it would be fun and exciting. Ning Tao replied to his friends with interest so that they relax as it would be exciting for them. The main character, accompanied by his friends, drove up to the Heavenly Hall Casino. Ning Tao was amazed by the beauty of this place. One of the main character's friends asked if they could enter. The doorman at the entrance wanted to say that minors are not allowed into the casino. The main character threw his golden calling card at him and told him to take a closer look. The doorman was very surprised to see on the card that their guest came from the Chinya Corporation. At the same moment, the doorman shouted to the servants to hurry up as they had important clients. A group of girls greeted the main character at the Heavenly Hall Casino. The main character remembered that the system told him that this place is the largest casino in the city. He was surprised that they were able to get here so easily. Ning Tao shouted to his friends that he would allow them to have a blast today. A casino employee watched them closely. The employee radioed his boss and said they had caught a big catch. The main character and his friends were walking around the casino. Everything around was sparkling and beautiful girls were serving drinks. Ning Tao looked at the girls with great interest. They were beautiful and dressed in rabbit costumes. The main character and his friends approached the slot machines. Ning Tao said joyfully that this place is amazing and one of the girls said that she would show him everything here. The girl told the guests in detail where the slot machines, card tables and gaming tables are located. One of the main character's friends heard a girl call him from the side. A girl with blue hair was sitting at the gaming table and invited the guy to play a couple of games with her. The guy was very amazed, he kept looking at the girl's large breasts. The main character grabbed his friend and told him to stop staring because they have big things to do here. Ning Tao handed the girl his card and told her to bring him chips. The girl took the card from the guy and brought him in return a whole tray of different chips. Ning Tao gave the chips to his friends. At the same time, he set them a mandatory condition. The main character seriously told his comrades that they must lose everything. Ning Tao decided to play himself. He walked over to the table with the dice. The guy sat down at the gaming table with a tray of his chips. The people around were very surprised. They wondered among themselves how much money the main character had in his chips. Ning Tao threw the chips on the table and said that he was betting 500,000 on the away game. The croupier girl immediately apologized and moved the protagonist's bet back. After this, the girl answered the guy that the maximum bet cannot be more than 100,000. The main character was not taken aback. He took the chips and said calmly that he was betting 100,000. The girl took the dice, shook them, and after that she threw them onto the gaming table. As a result, a gaming combination appeared that showed that the guy lost. Ning Tao said without any emotion that he bets on triple again. The girl accepted his bet. The surrounding players were surprised. They knew that triples are very rare. The main character simply squandered money. The main character thought that he needed to lose to get points. Since he only lost 100,000, it would take a long time to lose all 10 million. Ning Tao is tired. He said that the stakes were very small and he was bored. Suddenly, the main character heard a girl calling him from the side. The girl told Ning Tao that if the stakes are low for him here, then let him go with her. The main character was delighted. He confidently told the girl to show him the way. After passing through the entire casino, Ning Tao came to a very large golden door. The girl opened the massive door and told the main character to come inside. Ning Tao walked in and saw a huge table with gaming equipment in the room. A guy was sitting behind it, devouring chocolate. The guy at the table called himself Gao Bujin and said that he was welcoming the main character. Ning Tao looked at the guy at the table and decided that he was cosplaying some Hollywood player. After a short pause, Gao Bujin took the gaming accessories and threw them on the table. Cards and gaming dominoes scattered all over the gaming table. Gao Bujin told the main character that they have mahjong, poker and dice here. Ning Tao replied that he prefers dice the most and he is most familiar with this game. Gao Bujin agreed with the protagonist's request. He only wanted to voice one condition. In a serious voice, Gao Bujin said that they have a bet of 500,000 and whether the main character dares to do it. The main character said that the amount of 500,000 may not be enough. He offered to raise it to 1,000,000. Gao Bujin was surprised by such a request from the main character. He did not believe that he could make such a bet. At this time, the head of the casino was closely watching the main character through CCTV cameras. The casino owner noticed that Ning Tao, although he loses large sums, does not show any emotions. The casino owner's name was Wan Jin. He said to himself loudly that he liked the main character. The girl told Vanya that everyone likes people who give money without any questions. The boss happily told the girl to bring him a couple of players like Ning Tao and his business would skyrocket. The girl and her boss watched with interest as the main character now played for a big bet. At this moment, Ning Tao was playing at a large table against Gao. Spectators crowded around. The spectators around were wealthy and respected players. They watched the main character constantly lose. The French king of gambling said that he had never been so crazy. The top Indian player said that he has never thrown so much money down the drain. A pirate player from the Caribbean said that here he saw an even more reckless player than himself. A guest from Japan said that in his country everyone knows that they should avoid playing dice with Gao Bujin. You can't play dice with Gao Bujin because he has control over all the dice. Gao threw the dice and a combination came up which showed that he had won. Gao told the main character not to bet on triples anymore. The probability of getting such a combination is very low. After this, Gao Bujin pointed out to the main character that half of his chips had already been lost. The main character, without any emotion, said that he was again betting a whole million on a triple. Gao Bujin did not understand the stubbornness of the main character. He knew that he would never get a triple. Gao rolled the dice again. The combination turned out to be a complete winner for him. After that, Gao looked at the main character and asked him what he would say. Without thinking twice, Ning Tao collected almost all his chips and said that he was betting 4 million. The main character, without much emotion, confirmed that he was betting on triples again. Gao decided to continue playing. He realized that he would win all his money from the main character. After that, Gao threw away the dice again. The combination showed that he won. Gao answered joyfully to the main character, he will take everything from him to the last penny. The surrounding players were very surprised. They decided that the main character was simply an idiot. People around said that Ning Tao, although rich, was very stupid. Someone suggested that he spend this money on brain surgery. The system gave the guy a message that he had received 500 points and now he could purchase the elixir of good luck. The main character realized that after this luck would accompany him, and to celebrate, he tossed the chip. Ning Tao, fully confident in his strength and victories, said that the show begins. The main character received a message that the elixir of luck had been used. In an instant, Ning Tao fully felt that he had received a blessing from the goddess of fortune. The main characters realized that luck had begun to reboot. He went on a blessed journey. After using the elixir, Ning Tao realized that now the game would go completely differently. Gao told the main character to stop dreaming. He asked if the guy would risk his last million. All his apathy disappeared from Ning Tao and excitement awoke in him. The main character turned out the tray with chips and said that this time he bet everything. Gao picked up the container with the cubes. He decided to finish off the main character with one blow. Other players came up and said that they also wanted to join and participate in the game. Gao asked the foreign players in surprise if they also wanted to play. Gamblers from India said that they would not play themselves but would bet on the outcome of the game. Gao looked at the foreign players and thought that they were a bunch of greedy losers. They all want to tear a piece from the main character. Ning Tao told the players that he had very little money left. He invited them to place bets. If he lost, he would pay them twice as much. Gamblers began to place large bets with amounts ranging from 8 to 50 million. All the gamblers said confidently that they were betting on the main character to lose. Gao shouted justifiably that there was no turning back. He stirred the cubes and threw them on the table. Gao slammed the glass with the dice onto the table with all his might. He was really looking forward to the winning combination. Gao prepared to remove the glass at the bottom of which there were cubes. At this time, the effect of the elixir of good luck began. With great excitement and interest, Gao looked at the result of throwing the dice. Gamblers around the table were also waiting for the outcome of the current game. They were confident of victory. Ning Tao waited for the outcome of the game without much excitement. He was confident of his victory. Everyone looked in fascination at the fallen dice in the center of the table. All 3 dice fell with a value of 6 and this means a triple and a complete victory for the main character. Foreign gamblers could not believe how it could be possible that the main character won. Most of all, Ning Tao's rival named Gao was surprised. He realized that they would now have to pay for the winnings. Most of all, the casino boss named Van was amazed at the protagonist's victory. Mr. Wong couldn't believe how it could be possible for the main character to suddenly win at dice. At the same time, Ning Tao, as if nothing had happened, was counting how much he had won from Gao Bujin and foreign players. The main character joyfully calculated that he won a total of almost 200 million. Foreign players attacked Gao Bujin. They blamed him for their loss. At this time, the main character heard a group of people approaching their room. Ning Tao realized that he would need help. He wrote on his smartphone to his friend so that he would bring reinforcements. The head of the casino, Wan, broke into the room, accompanied by his assistants. He asked the main character menacingly how he dared to play with him. Ning Tao stood calmly in the center of the room. He did not show his excitement in any way. Mr. Wong looked at the main character very menacingly and fiercely. The guy realized that he needed to answer something. Ning Tao told the casino owner as calmly as possible that he only called him a boy because he lost. Mr. Wong became even more angry at this answer. He said threateningly to the main character that this was his territory. After this, Boss Wan added that his word is law. He ordered his henchmen to attack Ning Tao. At this time, a group of angry players burst into it from the other side of the room. One guy pointed to the casino owner and added that he didn't want to pay them money even though he lost. The players were extremely angry and armed with improvised means. They wanted to beat up the casino owner. After this, the angry players rushed to beat Mr. Van and all his henchmen with passion. The protagonist's friend said that he received his message and called a couple of guys to help Ning Tao. After the execution, Ning Tao asked the casino owner if he would still accuse him of cheating. Mr. Wang said that he lost and said that he would pay. The main character received a message on his phone, winnings from the casino and from all foreign players. The main character was very happy. He received 200 million which he can exchange for 200 points. Suddenly, Ning Tao was distracted from his thoughts about winning by a phone call. The guy picked up the phone and heard that his aunt called him. He greeted her. The auntie told the guy excitedly that his uncle had an accident and was now in Sunyun Hospital. The main character, without wasting a minute, decided to go immediately to the hospital to see his uncle. Ning Tao was immersed in thoughts and memories of his uncle. When the main character was very young, he was brought to his uncle's family and raised him. The uncle accepted Ning Tao as his own son. He taught him, fed him and took care of him. The family was not rich. For this reason, my uncle worked very hard. He was able to pay for his nephew's university education. The main character wanted to help his uncle. He prayed and wished for his uncle to be unharmed. Ning Tao drove up to the hospital building. He quickly ran through the building shouting for everyone to get out of his way. Patients and nurses were surprised by such a guest as the main character. He ran down the corridor. Ning Tao bumped into people, but he apologized to them and said that he just wanted to pass. As a result, the main character ran up and saw his very excited aunt. The aunt was very happy. She did not expect to see her nephew Ning Tao here so quickly. The aunt was glad that her nephew had finally arrived. The main character asked what his uncle's condition was. Auntie said that uncle only injured his leg and he would be hospitalized for a short time. The main character calmed down and exhaled. He realized that his uncle was not in serious danger. Only then did Ning Tao turn around and notice that there was a guy standing next to his aunt. The main character asked his aunt who the guy was standing next to them and whether he was his uncle's friend. The aunt told the main character that the man standing next to her knocked down his uncle. Ning Tao became angry. He angrily asked the guy if he was the man who knocked down his uncle. The guy calmly said that he was not to blame for anything. The uncle himself was almost blind and did not see where he was going. After that, the guy said that his car was scratched, but he didn't ask anyone to pay for it. Ning Tao was angry with the driver's attitude towards the victim after he crashed into someone. The guy decided to get money and pay for treatment. The driver handed the aunt a wad of money. He said that it was for her medical expenses. Then the guy dropped the wad of money from his hands. Auntie was very surprised by this. The driver released the bills from his hands and slyly apologized and said that it slipped out on its own. The woman looked with surprise and disappointment at the money that was scattered on the floor. The guy sarcastically told the woman not to wait and raise the money because she had not yet paid for medical care. After this, the driver suggested that the main character pick up money for his aunt. The main character's aunt was very surprised and annoyed by the driver's behavior. As a result, the woman realized that she really needed money for treatment and she decided to raise it. Auntie sat down on her knees and prepared to collect banknotes from the floor. At that moment, the main character grabbed his aunt's hands. He didn't want her to take money from the driver. Ning Tao confidently told Auntie that he would pay for all medical expenses. The woman was very amazed by the kindness of the guy. She didn't even know how to thank him. Ning Tao turned to the driver and said that he would no longer need to pay for medical care. The main character turned menacingly to the guy and said that he would have to kneel down and apologize to his aunt. Such a request made the driver laugh. He was not going to apologize and snapped his fingers at that time. At this time, soil began to rise from under the ground next to the driver. Here the driver's personal guards emerged from the ground. They called themselves the Gopher Brothers. The Gopher Brothers began asking who was looking for problems with their boss and whether the main character was really tired of living. The aunt told her nephew to forget about it. They can't fight these rich people. The driver told the main character that he should listen to his aunt and take the money. He wouldn't kneel in front of her even if it were his grandmother. The main character remained silent. He realized that it was time to call for help. Ning Tao snapped his fingers and it came out very quietly, which made the driver very surprised. The driver laughed. He couldn't believe that anyone would come to the main character's aid. Then suddenly the driver heard the stomping of a large number of feet. He was a little scared. One of the Gopher Brothers shouted in fear that the ceiling was shaking. The driver thought that an earthquake had started. A large group of the main character's guards came running. They were all dressed in black. The guards in black gathered into one group and headed towards Ning Tao to help him. The driver was very scared but did not expect that the main character would receive such help. Security guards in black surrounded the driver and his gopher brothers on all sides. The gopher brothers, in order not to take risks, went back into the ground and advised the boss to be careful. The driver was left completely on his own and one of the protagonist's guards put his hand on his shoulder. The main character's security guard asked the driver menacingly if he was the one who was creating problems for their boss. The driver was very scared, he even fell to his knees out of fear, nobody could help him. The driver said in a frightened voice that he would crawl on his knees and ask for forgiveness from the main character. Ning Tao looked at the driver with contempt and told him to get out. The main character called his main guard named Xiaohei, he arrived immediately. Ning Tao asked the security guard if he saw a Lamborghini on the street, Xiaohei replied that he sees. The main character ordered Xiaohei and the rest of the guards to go and destroy the car. The guards responded unanimously that they understood the instructions and went to destroy the car with improvised weapons. The Lamborghini driver was very scared. He tried to stop the guards and told them not to touch his car. The guards beat the driver back with strong blows so that he flew to the side. The guards began to destroy the car. The driver was horrified after they smashed his headlights. The security guards continued to smash the Lamborghini. The driver noticed that his doors were broken. After that, one of the guards broke the windshield. The driver was shocked. Then the driver heard a loud noise behind him. He turned around and saw a roller approaching. The owner of the Lamborghini could not understand what the road roller was doing here. It was being driven by one of the security guards. The road roller arrived and began to run over the Lamborghini. To completely crush the car, the roller rolled over the roof several times. The security guard rode on top of the Lamborghini until the expensive car was left with a crushed pancake. The driver was shocked. For him, the loss of Lamborghini was a great tragedy. At this time, the main character approached the driver and poured banknotes on top of him. The main character sternly told the driver that he had brought him payment for his car and he should get ready and get out. The driver got very angry and shouted to the main character that he had behaved unforgivably. The Lamborghini owner shouted to Ning Tao that he had just called the big shots to come to his aid. Very soon the policeman who had previously detained the main character arrived. He asked the Lamborghini driver if he had called him. The owner of the crushed car asked a police captain named Zhao to avenge him. Then the main character approached and greeted Captain Zhao. The policeman asked him what he was doing here. The driver was very amazed. He did not understand how the main character could know Captain Zhao. The main character handed the business card of his lawyer Gao to the policeman and said that he could contact him. Officer Zhao took the business card in his hands. He recalled to himself the actions of a lawyer named Gao Li. Zhao recalled the lawyer's angry shout, threatening that the police were responsible for his boss's reputation. He realized that lawyer Gao Li was very difficult to deal with. The driver ran up to the policeman and, pointing at the main character, said that it was he who crashed his Lamborghini. Officer Zhao slowly lit a cigarette and said that he needed to ask the driver something. A police officer said that this evening a Lamborghini ran a red light and hit a man. The police stopped the offender. Officer Zhao looked at the driver with piercing attention. He wanted to clarify about his Lamborghini. The policeman asked the driver if he might own the Lamborghini that hit the man this evening. The driver was very scared. He said that it couldn't be a Lamborghini and that's how he drives a BMW car. Officer Zhao reminded the driver that he himself had just spoken about the broken Lamborghini. The police took the driver with them. The driver shouted that he wanted to meet the police boss. He also promised that he would complain to his lawyer. Suddenly, the main character was distracted by the angry cry of his aunt from the side. The woman asked her nephew sternly where he got so much money and what kind of people dressed in black were with him. The aunt decided that the guy had joined the criminal world. Ning Tao told his aunt not to worry because he received money from the business he was running. The main character asked his aunt where his cousin was and why she didn't come. The woman replied that her cousin called and said that she was already on her way. Ning Tao remembered that his cousin was always loyal and it couldn't be that she wouldn't come. The guy told his aunt that he would go and find his cousin. He asked the woman to look after his uncle. The main character in his Rolls-Royce drove at full speed through the city at night. The guy turned to the system to help him find his cousin. Xiaoba activated the super navigation system. The system gave the guy a map and indicated that the target marked with a red dot was his cousin. Xiaoba clarified that using the system costs 5 points every minute. The guy didn't like it. The system contacted the guy and said that this was a friendly reminder for him. The main character realized that his goal was now in danger. He needed to speed up. Ning Tao in his expensive car pressed the gas pedal to the floor as much as possible. The Rolls-Royce with the main character drove at high speed along the highway, overtaking other cars. Ning Tao, sitting behind the wheel, realized that first his uncle was hit and now his cousin was missing. This can't be just a coincidence. The main character understood with absolute certainty that someone was clearly holding a grudge against him. The main character, at the direction of his navigator, arrived at a nightclub with a striptease. There were a lot of people in the club and a seductive girl was dancing on a pole in the center. There were a lot of people near the stage with the girl, they looked at her in fascination. The main character could not understand how his cousin could end up in this place. Ning Tao noticed that his cousin was sitting on the side of the sofa, accompanied by some guys. One of them was offering her a drink. The guys vying with each other offered the girl a drink with them, she refused. Someone brought a glass of cocktail to the girl, she knocked it back and said she didn't want it. The guy got very angry, he hit the girl with all his strength and she fell. The guy told the angry girl that he saved her dignity after inviting her to drink with them. He didn't understand why she still refused. The guy said that there was no one who dared to refuse them. At this time, the main character approached him. Ning Tao swung and hit the guy in the groin with all his might and shouted that to hell with his dignity. The guy twisted in pain, he shouted that his balls were finished. Friends asked if he was okay and if he needed to go to the hospital. Ning Tao ran up to his cousin and asked worriedly if she was okay. The girl, with surprise and fear, asked Ning Tao why he was here. The cousin grabbed the main character and told him to run quickly after her. Ning Tao asked his cousin why they were running away. She said that she would answer all questions later. The guys from the club angrily said that the main character and the girl could escape only in their dreams. The guy told his friends to stop Ning Tao and his cousin and promised them beer today at his own expense. Here the cousin and the main character stopped together, a group of big guys stood in front of them. The main big guy said confidently that after the main character and the girl made noise here, they are now dead. The cousin said in a forgiving tone to Ning Tao that it was all her fault. The main character was not at all afraid, he confidently told the girl not to worry. Ning Tao stood opposite the big man and told his cousin to leave everything else to him. The big guy told the main character that he was very naive, there are many clients in the club and Ning Tao could not bribe them all. The big man had a brick smashed on his head, he suddenly flew from behind from the crowd. Then the big guy turned to the crowd and asked them who did it, he promised to punish the culprit if he caught him. People in the crowd turned to the big man and asked what would happen to them if he caught them. The main character said with a grin to the big guy that he was the only naive person here. Ning Tao recalled the saying that if a person has money, then people will always help him, if he's broke, no one will lay a finger on him. People attacked the big man, they shouted that they were ready to beat him even without money. People beat the big guy with clubs and bottles, he demanded not to be hit in the face. As a result, the big man realized that he couldn't cope on his own and he prayed to the master to save him. The big man's words had the effect of a loud whistle coming from somewhere in the sky. The man seemed to fly into the club and began to scatter people around. Then the man who flew into the room was able to throw aside the attackers on the big man. Then his master appeared next to the big man, he told the student not to worry as he had come to protect him. The big man shouted to all the attackers that they were dead because his master named Duan Luhai had come to protect him. The people in the club were very scared, they threw their weapons on the floor. The attackers were afraid, they knew that Duan Luhai was a powerful master, they had heard a lot about him. The main character asked Duan if he really came here from martial arts films. The master did not like the words of the main character and decided to beat Ning Tao. Duan took off and shouted that he would show the main character what he was capable of. The master jumped on top of Ning Tao and said threateningly that he was about to die. The main character was very scared, he realized that Duan was in reality a martial arts master. Ning Tao realized that he could withstand no more than 3 seconds after the master's blow. The main character asked the system for help. Xiaoba calmly answered the guy that she could save him for just 1,000 points. Ning Tao angrily asked the system where he would get so many points now and how he would earn them if he were dead. Xiaoba threw a banana peel near the guy and replied that Ning Tao is a beginner and that's why it gives him invincible powers. The main character did not understand what super invincible powers he could have and what had to do with banana peels. Ning Tao felt that the martial artist was already very close to him and he decided to dodge. Master Duan flew at full speed towards the main character Ning Tao, but at the last moment he managed to move a little to the side. As a result, the master simply stepped on a banana peel and flew headfirst. Duan was unable to throw any punch and control his body due to the fact that he slipped. The main character was able to miraculously escape. The master who threatened him fell dead to the ground. After hitting the floor, martial artist Duan lay unconscious. Ning Tao was amazed at such an unexpected and easy victory for himself. The people around were surprised. The main character thought to himself with joy that the issue had already been completely resolved. The big guy ran up to the master and tried to bring him to his senses. He promised to avenge him. The people present in the club asked him how he would avenge the master if he could not survive even today. A whole crowd attacked the lucky man and began to beat him. He could not defend himself in any way. While the people in the club were dealing with the big guy, the main character decided to find his cousin. Ning Tao handed the girl a cash check for 1,000,000 yuan for her uncle's treatment. The girl was very surprised. She couldn't believe that the guy gave her a check for that amount. Ning Tao told his cousin that they were now in public and that she should speak more quietly. The girl asked where he found all this money. The cousin asked the main character if he was doing anything illegal. The guy didn't understand why the girl always doubted him. To distract the girl, the main character pointed towards the store and said that her uncle had appeared there. The girl turned away. The guy started to run away. He shouted goodbye to his cousin that everything was in order with the money. The girl got angry and didn't like that the guy ran away faster than a rabbit. A person watched everything that happened in the club. He called his boss and said that Meng Yuan also failed. The boss was sitting in his mansion at that time. Because of the bad news, he even broke his phone. The boss was very angry because his wards could not complete even simple tasks. The boss's son said that they couldn't let the main character do whatever he wanted. The father reassuringly told his son that he had other ways. The boss looked slyly at his son and told him that soon the shares of Ning Tao would belong to him. The main character walked relaxedly through the city. He had just calmed down after the showdown at the club. Ning Tao was happy to himself that he was finally able to escape. He realized that his cousin would be involved in all this. The system gave the guy a message that a new mission had become available for him. The main character got angry. He asked Xiaoba if she really wanted to scare him to death. The system reported that it was offering a charitable mission. Ning Tao was very surprised. He thought about it and couldn't imagine what a charitable mission could be. The system reported that this time the main character must conquer the Jun Roying star. For a completed mission, he will receive a reward of 1,000 points and 2 full attributes. If Ning Tao loses, the system will turn him into a girl. The main character answered the system that he would not carry out tasks where the stake would be himself. He said that he was tired and wanted to sleep. Xiaoba said threateningly to the guy that he had already abandoned the mission once. The next time she refuses, she will carry out the primary punishment of castration. Ning Tao was very scared. He replied to the system that he accepted the task. Xiaoba calmed down completely. She joyfully wished the main character good luck. Ning Tao thought to himself that he was an idiot. He is already dating Yi Tun Tun and now he needs to date another girl. Thinking about his future fate, the main character felt that he had a bad feeling. At this time, singer June performed on stage at a music charity concert. The singer performed a romantic song. People in the hall listened and supported her with luminous signals. In the song, June sang that at least she will always have her loved one. The audience listened to her in fascination. A girl with a voice full of feelings and soft gestures delighted the guests with her songs. June finished her love song at a charity performance. The audience was delighted with the performance. They shouted at June Rowling that they loved her. The singer thanked everyone. The main character was very happy. He realized that he had a very profitable task. He noticed that the singer looks much better in reality than on TV. Ning Tao, full of enthusiasm, decided that he had to get this girl. The main character realized that the time had come to act. He took and threw a wad of money into the crowd. Ning Tao decided that now the time had passed to activate his skill now. Ning Tao activated the spiritual art of money distribution. Spectators ran and caught the bills he threw. The main character threw a rain of money to the audience while they were collecting bills. He headed towards the singer. June was very surprised while standing on stage. She couldn't understand why people in the hall suddenly started fighting. The main character approached the singer with a bouquet and called her a beauty. Ning Tao invited the girl to count the money with him. He introduced himself and said that he was from Qianyi Corporation. It turned out that the main character here is not alone. he was pushed aside by other contenders. Contenders offered the singer a lot of money to support her, someone even offered her $1 million if she agreed to have lunch with him. After this, the men quarreled among themselves, they were too old to care for June. The girl told the applicants to stop arguing, for the sake of charity, she was ready to satisfy everyone's wishes. The main character thought to himself that because of the celebrity girl's performance, the competition only intensified. Ning Tao decided to himself that several old men could not win against him. He decided to tell the girl how much he was sacrificing to her. Then a young guy with lilac hair came up and said that he was donating 10 million. The main character was unpleasantly surprised, he couldn't understand how this guy got here unnoticed. The audience identified the rich guy, his name was Kong Tianming, he was the manager of a medical business. Kong Tianming said seriously that before he donates money, he has a request. Ken demanded that the singer June give him a kiss in return. After this, Kong Tianming reminded the singer that she was a kind person. The guy told June that for the sake of rich donations, she would not dare refuse. The audience was outraged, they didn't like the fact that the guy wanted to kiss the singer for 10 million. The guy Kong Tianming reminded everyone present that the concert was for charity. Kong turned to the applicants and said that if they had eggs, they could donate more than him. The applicants fell silent, they could not pay more than Kong offered. The main character intervened in the conversation, he said that this was his first time in a charity case. Ning Tao told everyone around him with joy in his voice that he was donating 100 million. The people at the concert were very amazed, they did not believe that the main character could donate a large amount. The rich guy Ken was also amazed, he did not have the opportunity to sacrifice more than the main character. Singer June was also very surprised, her charity concert brought in a lot of money. The audience shouted in unison at Ning Tao that he was a billionaire and many people recognized him. Having come to his senses a little, the guy Ken shouted that to show love, it doesn't matter how much money a person donates. The rest of the applicants were surprised that Ken said such words, they reminded him that he himself had just been pretending. The voice of the main character came from the side, he said that the guy Ken told the complete truth. Ning Tao said that money is just property and the most important thing is love, he added that he wants to create a charitable foundation in the future. The main character took June by the hand and added that the fund would not be named after him. Ning Tao kissed the singer's hand and said that he would name the foundation in honor of his goddess. Singer June was very surprised, she did not expect this from an unfamiliar guy. The audience rejoiced, they said that the main character is not an ordinary billionaire but also a loving one and he is worthy of June. Guy Kong shouted that he was better suited for the singer. The audience attacked Kong, they shouted at him to get out quickly. The main character looked after Kanu and wondered if such garbage could take his woman. Then suddenly the crowd screamed and demanded a kiss, the main character was very surprised. Enthusiastic spectators screamed and demanded that June kiss the main character right here and there. Ning Tao suddenly became very shy, he didn't want a girl to kiss him here in public. Singer June approached the main character and unexpectedly kissed him from the side. Barely audible, the girl whispered to the guy to be at 9 o'clock in the evening in the small forest behind the school. The main character was very surprised, he couldn't even imagine why the girl made an appointment with him. The system congratulated Ning Tao for successfully completing his charity mission. Xiaoba reported that the guy earned 1,000 points and 2 full attributes, the main character's strength, agility and defense have improved. The system noticed that the guy did not react at all, she asked him why he was silent. The main character shouted loudly and joyfully that he would have a meeting in a small forest. Ning Tao ran around and kept shouting about the fact that the beauty asked him to go with her to the small forest. The main character answered the system that this happened to him for the first time in his life, he decided that he needed to prepare. The guy needed to apply 20 masks to his face to become more beautiful. After that, Ning Tao decided to puff himself up with good perfume. To ensure safety, Ning Tao decided to take a bunch of condoms with him. After this, the main character, fully assembled, decided to move into the small forest. To avoid getting too excited again, Ning Tao sprinkled some chili pepper in his pants. Exactly at the appointed time, the main character arrived at the edge of the lovers' forest. In the forest, the main character immediately noticed the singer June, she was waiting for him at the appointed place. Ning Tao came up from behind and timidly and shyly addressed the girl. The singer turned to the guy and said joyfully that he had finally arrived. Ning Tao waved his hand at June and told her nervously and timidly that he had come. The guy told the girl that she looked great. He also asked if she had dinner. The girl answered questions cheerfully and positively. After that, Ning Tao stood and talked with the girl for a very long time. He could still come up with various questions for her. Here the main character thought that the battle had not yet begun and his head was already empty. He felt that he had lost his calm and everyday chic. Ning Tao thought that he was new to such matters and suddenly he was asked to challenge him. He wouldn't want to desert in the first battle. Suddenly, the girl came up and grabbed the main character by the hand. She wanted to take him with her. Singer June dreamily looked at the guy and told him to follow her. After that, the main character and the girl climbed onto a tree branch. The moon illuminated them from the sky. Ning Tao was very surprised by what was on the tree. He didn't know that such oddities were common among celebrities. The singer replied that mosquitoes don't bite her on the tree and the view is better here. She added that if the guy doesn't like it, they can change the situation. Ning Tao replied that he felt good here. Singer June stretched out on a tree branch and the guy watched her with excitement. The girl asked the main character romantically to be more gentle with her. Ning Tao answered joyfully to the girl so that she would not worry. He promised to be the most gentle for her. After that, the guy fell from the branch upside down and hit himself hard. June asked the main character how this happened to him and what he was thinking about. The guy stood up and matter-of-factly said that he was thinking about how to found this charitable foundation and was a little lost in his thoughts. The singer answered him that he was a very good person. The girl bowed to the guy and said that she sincerely thanks him for this. She thanked him for his generous donation. The main character was very surprised. He couldn't believe that the girl asked him to come here just to thank him. Jian said that if they communicate in public places, bad rumors might spread. For this reason, she asked Ning Tao to come here. Trying to look as calm as possible, the guy told the girl that everything was fine. At this time, the tramp of a large number of people was heard from the side. They were approaching. Han Wen appeared. He told the main character that he was lucky because he was able to conquer June Ruin. Ning Tao, scared and wary, asked Han Wen what he wanted from them now. Han Wen confidently held out a set of documents in his hand to the main character. After this, Han Wen told Ning Tao to sign the agreement on the transfer of shares, otherwise he would meet his death today. The main character angrily tore up the contract that Han invited him to sign. Ning Tao answered absolutely unequivocally that he would not sign this contract. Han lit a cigarette and calmly told the main character to think about it. After a short pause, Han asked Ning Tao whether his uncle and sister were still in the hospital. The main character was very worried and scared. He realized that Han was involved in the hospitalization of his uncle. After that, Han picked up the photographs and said that the main character would face consequences if he did not sign the contract. Han threatened the main character that all his relatives would be dead. He threw photo cards with images of Ning Tao's friends and relatives. The main character got scared when he saw the photos of his friend Dapeng and the girl Yi Tong Tong. Ning Tao got angry and rushed at Han, trying to hit him with all his might. One of Han's henchmen hit the main character from behind with all his might with a bat. After this, the bandits all attacked the main character and began to beat him. Girl June angrily asked the guys how they could beat people and she threatened to call the police. The bandits were even amused. They didn't believe that the girl could call the police. The bandits attacked singer June. They said they would have fun with her. June continued to try to break free. She started shaking and started calling for help. Here the main character shouted to the bandits to stop. Ning Tao stood up and said that he would sign the documents. The main character angrily asked to be given documents to sign. Hao handed over the documents and said that Ning Tao should have agreed to sign them earlier. The main character told Hanyu that this time he was lucky. He asked his opponent how he knew that he was here. Han cheerfully and joyfully replied that they were able to introduce many people into Ning Tao's circle. Ning Tao asked Han if he was the organizer of the accident and street fight. Han happily replied that this was the most effective way. The main character responded angrily to Hanyu that he had made big plans to take all his shares. The Han guy said joyfully that he was able to pull it off only thanks to his father's advice. Ning Tao returned the signed contract for the transfer of shares to Han's hands. Han looked at the document and noticed that the main character, instead of a signature, drew a comical portrait of him on paper. Han became very angry and shouted to his henchmen to kill the main character. Ning Tao turned to Xiaobi and said that he urgently needed medical help. The system said it would help. The guy received a message that a furious potion had been activated to help him. The surrounding guys were surprised. Ning Tao shone brightly. They couldn't understand who the main character was turning into. Ning Tao turned into a powerful warrior and shouted to those around him that they would die first. The surrounding bandits were surprised. They looked at the main character and thought it was a cosplay of characters from martial arts films. The guys decided that Ning Tao was simply bluffing and could not do anything to them. The main characters folded their hands and began to accumulate energy to launch a fireball. The bandits were very surprised by this action of the main character. Someone even said that Ning Tao reread the comics. After some manipulation, a bright fireball appeared in Ning Tao's hands. Without thinking twice, the main character threw the ball with all his might at his enemies. The impact of the fireball was very powerful. The bandits scattered to the sides over long distances. The force of the fiery blow was such that it even demolished trees in the forest. The fireball was visible far from the side. After the fiery strike, there was even a trace left. Ning Tao looked forward and saw that his enemies were no longer nearby. He destroyed them with a fireball. All the bandits from their Han group lay neutralized on the ground, unconscious. After launching the ball, the main character felt very weak. The magic trick took away his powers. The guy asked the system why he was in pain. Xiaoba said that Ning Tao released a lot of energy in one go and it had an effect on his body. The main character asked the system where Han Wen is now. Xiaoba replied that Han was standing aside in complete shock. Ning Tao walked over and called Han Wen. He had just risen from the ground. The main character demanded that Han give him evidence of his crimes and the crimes of his father. Han confidently told the main character that he would never give up his father. Ning Tao said sarcastically that it is very touching how Han remains faithful to his father. The main character told Hanyu that he had already betrayed his father. Ning Tao turned on a recording on his smartphone where Han talked about his father's help in criminal plans. The main character told Hanyu that he gave him a chance but he didn't take advantage of it. The guy still wanted to talk about the crimes in detail. Ning Tao replied with a tragic smile to Hanyu that it was already too late. Han fell silent. He was very scared and realized that he had no way out. At the same moment, the main character hit Han in the groin with all his might, and he screamed in response. The protagonist's friends heard screams from afar. They couldn't understand what was happening there. At this time, singer June arrived. She brought help with her. The police arrived with the girl. She asked Ning Tao if everything was okay. The main character replied that everything is fine now and everything has already been settled. June was very surprised that the main character managed to cope on his own. Ning Tao pointed the girl to Han and told her to take a closer look herself. Han sat leaning against a tree without any emotion. He wanted to be allowed to die. Girl June called the guy amazing because he was able to eliminate all the enemies himself. Ning Tao calmly answered the singer that he did not even use all his strength. June approached the guy and asked him to take her home now. The main character was very happy. He couldn't believe that the singer had seriously invited him to her place. A policeman's voice came from the side. He distracted Ning Tao and June. The policeman said he received a report of a robbery. Ning Tao was very surprised to meet Captain Zhao again. At the same time, Zhao was also surprised to see the main character here. Zhao asked Ning Tao if he was a suspect. The singer responded excitedly that the main character was not to blame for anything. June pointed to Han and said that it was he who wanted to harm her and the main character. Gradually the Han came to his senses. He was glad that the police had arrived here. Han jumped up and ran to Captain Zhao. He said excitedly that he wanted to make a statement. Han complained to the policeman that Ning Hao had attacked him. He also reported that the main character caused him physical harm. Han continued to tell the policeman that Ning Tao used the power of a manga hero. Perhaps the main character is an alien. After a short pause, Captain Zhao ordered his henchmen to take Han away. Han continued to shout that he was telling the truth. The policeman replied that he needed help. The main character told the policeman that he had a gift for him. Zhao was surprised. Ning Tao handed Han Wen's phone number to the captain. He added that the policeman will find many interesting things on the phone. Captain Zhao was very happy. He couldn't believe that he had received such a source of information. The main character said goodbye to the policeman. At this time, June called him. At the same time, the captain grabbed the main character by the hand. He was very surprised. Ning Tao asked Zhao what he was doing. The policeman answered the main character that he should follow him to the station. Ning Tao shouted to the policeman that he wanted to take the girl home. Zhao promised the guy that he would be rewarded for his help. The main character continued to resist. He shouted to the policeman that he didn't want a reward, he wanted June. The next day in the morning the main character woke up in his large villa. Ning Tao had difficulty waking up and coming to his senses. The events of the evening took a lot of energy from him. Lying on the bed, the guy remembered that he spent the whole night in the police station and was only able to sleep for a couple of hours. The guy saw his maid, security guard and lawyer next to him. Gao greeted him. The main character was very surprised. He could not understand why all these people were in his room. The lawyer adjusted his glasses and reminded the main character of an important event that would happen today. Gao reminded the guy that there would be a meeting of the board of directors today. Ning Tao perked up and came to his senses. He replied that he had not forgotten anything and added that everyone was now motivated. The main character began to quickly dress for an important event. Full of confidence, Ning Tao told his colleagues that they would go out and fight. The main character, accompanied by a lawyer and a security guard, arrived at the Qianya Corporation building. All the girls in the office were in awe of Ning Tao. They considered him young, handsome and rich. The female workers looked at the main character passing by and considered him too perfect. Xiaoba told the guy that people are very interesting, people around you love a person when he is rich. The system said that when Ning Tao becomes the largest investor, then he will be loved even more and he will live a luxurious life. The main character responded indifferently to the system that he didn't need all this. Ning Tao added that he did not want to become trash like Han Wen. When he has full control of Qian Corporation, he will use the money to help society. Xiaoba was very surprised. It was strange to hear such words from the main character. The system told the guy that she couldn't believe the words that came from him. Ning Tao said that he was serious. Then someone called the main character. He and the system were distracted and looked away. The main character saw his ex-girlfriend Lily and her new boyfriend nearby. They threatened Ning Tao and promised that today he could become a beggar. The main character's guard threw away the annoying Lily and her new boyfriend with one blow. Lying down, the guy thought to himself that he finally had a chance to show off. Lily sadly thought to herself that they were beaten again. Ning Tao and his companions approached the meeting room. They froze in front of the door. The main character decided that it would be better if he came in himself. Ning Tao told his lawyer to give him the file and then he would come in himself. The main character told the lawyer to do what he told him. Gao Li answered convincingly to his boss that he would do everything that way. Ning Tao prepared to enter. He understood that it would be very difficult for him and he opened the door. The main character entered the meeting room. He noticed that all the participants were looking at him disapprovingly and with anger. Mr. Han sat at the head of the table. He looked at the main character and thought that this brat had really come. Mr. Han received a message from his son yesterday. Han Wen wrote that Ning Tao would be able to sign the contract, but only face to face. Han thought to himself that he had already collected shares of the company and was also supported by the CEO. Mr. Han looked at the main character and decided that he would destroy him today. The main character entered the hall and greeted everyone present. No one greeted Ning Tao in return. He noticed that everyone else was ignoring him. The main character realized that all the meeting participants were on Mr. Han's side. One of the participants greeted the main character and said that this was their first meeting. The man called himself Yafang Zheng. He was the first major investor in Qianya Corporation. He suggested that Ning Tao sit next to him. The main character sat down at the table next to Ifan. There was a long, drawn-out silence. Ifan stood up and informed everyone present that they had gathered here because a new investor had joined them. After this, Ifan pointed to the main character and told him that he welcomed him. The negotiators looked at the main character with hatred. Someone even thought that Ning Tao would be dead today. Mr. Han suddenly said that she had something to say about Ning Tao. Han said that just a couple of days ago the main character was a nobody without money and power. It is unclear how Ning Tao inherited Mr. Tan's shares. Also, the main character received $100 million into his account. After this, Han said angrily that Ning Tao simply embezzled money from their company. The main character was silent in response. He understood that a difficult battle lay ahead. Han threatened Ning Tao that he would report him to the police and his life would be over. Mr. Han handed the main character a folder with documents and told him to give him his shares in exchange for his life. Yefan looked at Han Qinghe and thought that he was very ambitious. The price of Ning Tao's shares exceeds 10 billion. Yefan firmly decided in himself that he couldn't let Mr. Han deceive this guy. Out loud, Ifan told Khan that he had voiced a serious accusation. He asked if he had any evidence. At this time, the main character told Ifan that everything he was doing was useless. Ning Tao said that Han may have made the perfect plan if he accuses him of embezzling money. The main character said that he was here to sign a contract and transfer shares. Mr. Han liked this answer. He called the main character a smart boy. The main character stood near the table and said that he was by no means going to transfer his shares to Hanyu. Ning Tao told Mr. Han that he would have to transfer his shares to him. Mr. Han confidently answered the guy that he would never do such a thing. At this time, Han received a message on his phone. Ning Tao told him that his son demanded that he sign the contract. Mr. Han said that he understood everything. He thought that the main character had taken his son hostage. Then Mr. Han jumped up and called the main character a bastard and said that he was just laughing. Mr. Han slammed his hand on the table with all his might. The main character was surprised. Han replied that he would not give up his business for the sake of his idiot son. He added that the main character underestimates him. Ning Tao showed Han the phone and said that this was proof of his crimes. He threatened to hand it over to the police. Han was not at all afraid. He told the main character that he can do whatever he wants. Han threatened the main character that he would reveal that he stole the phone from his son and falsified evidence. Khan also has the support of lawyers behind him. The meeting participants stood up and began to take turns saying that they, too, could prove the innocence of President Han and the guilt of Ning Tao. The main character thought. He realized that Mr. Han was very strong, although his son is an ordinary fool. Ning Tao very clearly imagined Han Qinghe as the demon boss and himself next to him. The main character was very scared. He decided quite realistically that he was finished. Ning Tao realized that Han Qinghe and the rest of the board members had united against him. He did not know what to do. The main character looked and saw a familiar man in front of him. He had seen him somewhere before. A glimmer of hope appeared in Ning Tao's mind. He decided that the guy sitting opposite him would help him escape. At this moment, Mr. Han threw a folder of documents onto the table in front of the protagonist. Han angrily told the guy to sign the contract. He added that this was his last chance. The main character reminded that the transfer of shares is an important matter. First of all, it needs to be discussed with other members of the board. Mr. Han called the main character a fool. He reminded that all the people at the meeting supported him. With a cheerful mood, the main character told those present that he wanted to show them something. Ning Tao turned on the phone and showed everyone present an image of a beautiful girl. Most of all, the photograph of this girl interested one of the meeting participants. Someone told a meeting participant that this is his wife in the photo. The man asked Ning Tao sternly how he dared to take a photo of his wife. The main character answered the man that he found this photo in Han Wen's phone. Mr. Han answered the main character that he would not be able to quarrel between him and the meeting participants. Ning Tao said that he wanted to show something else. Next, the main character showed a photograph in which Han Wen was depicted in the company of a girl. One of the participants was very surprised. He recognized his wife in the girl. Everyone else started laughing at the man. They called him a cuck. The main character told those present not to laugh. He decided to show another photo. The large photograph showed a beautiful girl with blue hair. Some of those present recognized her as his wife. The next photo was of a modest young girl. One of the participants identified her as his girlfriend. The next photo showed a girl in S&M clothes. Someone recognized her as his bride. He could not understand what was happening between her and Han Wen. Ning Tao continued to show photographs. The men there saw their wives and aunts. After the photographs were shown, one of the participants asked their colleagues if there was anyone among them who did not see women or relatives they knew in the photographs. The men confirmed that they all saw someone they knew in the photo. After that, all the participants were strangely happy that they were all cuckolds now. The men turned around and said angrily to Han Qinghe that this was all too much. They promised to destroy him. Mr. Han wanted to justify himself. He said that it was not his fault and that all this was his son's doing. The meeting participants attacked and began to beat Han Qinghe with anger. The main character was glad that he was saved. Ning Tao held the phone in his hands and said that this time he really owed Han Wen. The main character handed Mr. Han the documents and said that he must sign them. All members of his council rebelled against him. Han replied sadly that he was ready. Mr. Han signed the documents transferring the shares. The main character was able to win. Mr. Han pleadingly told the main character not to tell the police anything. Ning Tao said that he confidently keeps his word. He also promised to release Han Wen. The main character asked the system if it could restore the task of acquiring the shares of Han Qinghe that he owns. Xiaoba replied that it would cost 10 points. Ning Tao agreed to pay. He said that he wanted to restore the task right now. The main character received a message about the end of the mission. Ning Tao was able to reach the 3rd level and improved his strength and agility. The system also unlocked various reversible items for the guy. Mr. Han said that he has nothing now. He asked the meeting participants to spare him. Han promised that he would make his son pay for everything he had done. The men consulted and decided that they would not be ruthless towards the weak President Han. Someone said that it was all his son's fault. Mr. Han thought to himself angrily that he would return soon thanks to his connections and influence. He will have time to clean up evidence of his crimes. Han thought to himself that he would eat all his competitors one by one and make them regret their decision. When Han was about to leave the hall, his son Han Wen came running to him. Mr. Han was surprised. He decided that the main character let his son go. Han Wen told his father that Ning Tao did not detain him, but simply handed him over to the police. At this moment, a policeman approached Han Wen and addressed him personally. The policeman said that Mr. Han is suspected of several commercial crimes. He asked him to go with them to the station. Han shouted angrily at the main character that he had broken his word and called the police. Ning Tao replied that he just gave Han Wen's phone to the police. The main character told Hanyu that if anyone confirms his crimes, he will go to prison. Han Wen approached his father and told him in fear that he himself had confessed everything. Mr. Han would be very surprised by his son's confession. He started beating him. If An kept Khan from killing his son, Han cursed his son angrily for causing him harm. Ifan told Mr. Han to calm down as his son was a very important witness. Han Wen decided that he needed to get out of here as quickly as possible. Before Han Wen even had time to rise to his feet, a crowd of people had gathered around him. A group of participants from a recent meeting gathered next to Han Wen. They wanted to deal with him because of the photos they saw. The men beat Han Wen viciously. One of them even suggested making the guy a eunuch. At this time, the main character and his companions were sitting in the Sunyun Hotel. Ning Tao celebrated his victory with the lawyer and the security guard and they drank. The main character thanked his colleagues for the victory over the Han family. The security guard called the main character the smartest person. Ning Tao said that he did not see Yi Tong Tong. He asked where the girl had gone. The guard said that the girl went to change clothes so that she could surprise the main character later. The guy thought, he still couldn't imagine how exactly the girl wanted to change clothes to surprise him. At this time, 2 girls entered the restaurant. The redhead told her friend to look at the main character. The girl said that Ning Tao is one of the largest shareholders of Qinya Corporation. He is young, rich and lonely. The red-haired girl said dreamily that after she gets the main character, she will also become a rich lady. Without hesitation, the girls quickly rushed to the place where the main character was sitting. The girls sat down next to Ning Tao and offered him a drink together. They wanted to help him brighten up his loneliness. The main character answered a little confused to the girls that he was a little busy right now. Suddenly, the main character and the girls next to him were distracted and startled by the appearance of another girl from the side. Yi Tun Tun entered the hall and changed into a very beautiful light pink outfit. The people in the restaurant were surprised. They said the girl looked like an angel and she might be a superstar. Yi Tun Tun approached the main character and greeted him. Ning Tao was silent in fascination. The maid timidly told the main character that she had arrived for his return. She asked Ning Tao if he liked her outfit. The girls next to the main character got angry. They couldn't understand how some girl dared to ruin their plans. The main character did not want to listen to his new acquaintances, the girls. He pushed them aside. After that, the main character approached the maid and gently took her hand. Ning Tao responded romantically to the girl that he really liked her outfit. After that, the main character told the girl that he liked her more than her dress. Yi Tun Tun was very amazed. She just kept repeating the name of the main character. Ning Tao decided to kiss his maid at this romantic moment. Suddenly, singer June approached from the side and took the main character and his maid by surprise. June told the main character that she decided to drop by his party to congratulate him. The main character was unpleasantly surprised. He did not expect to see the singer June Roying at this time. Singer June watched for a long time as the main characters and his maid held hands. The singer asked the main character what kind of girl was standing next to him. Ning Tao told the singer that standing next to him was just an employee from his office. The maid really didn't like these words of the main character. She wanted to speak out. Yi Tong Tong said sadly and disappointed that she was just a colleague in Ning Tao's heart. The main character wanted to explain everything to his maid. At that moment the system was activated. She wanted to remind the guy something. Xiaoba said that if singer June does not have feelings for the main character, then he will not receive a reward for the task. The main character thought about it. He realized that he would now need to sacrifice one of the girls. The night was over the city, the moon was shining in the sky, and the main tragedy of his life was playing out for the main character. Ning Tao was in the hotel next to his two beloved girls. The main character stood between the maid and the singer and understood that he would have to choose only one of them. Singer June asked the maid menacingly who she was and why she was next to Ning Tao. Yi Tong Tong innocently replied that she was the main character's maid and they lived together. The singer was very annoyed when she heard such words. She didn't like that the guy had a personal maid and they lived together. Ning Tao looked at the singer and realized that she had almost no feelings for him now. The main character understood that he needed to complete the task, otherwise he would be castrated. Xiaoba recommended that the main character explain everything to the singer June. The guy wrote an explanation on a piece of paper. He stood behind the maid so that the singer could see him. June read that in the villa the main character lives upstairs and the maid lives below. They do not sleep together. The singer was glad that the guy and the maid were not in this kind of relationship. She decided that a personal maid was just an ordinary maid. Yi Tun Tun said that she is no longer such an ordinary maid, she needs to wear a uniform. June thought about it. She imagined that Yi Tong Tong was wearing a seductive uniform. To reassure the singer, the guy wrote that the maid wears a standard uniform. Singer June relaxed a little after this answer. She thought that she was a little surprised. Yi Tun Tun said that she gives the main character a special massage. She showed the book that Ning Tao gave her. The maid said that massage techniques are difficult to learn. She showed the singer a book with erotic content. Ning Tao was surprised and annoyed. He couldn't understand how the maid still had this book. Singer June was greatly amazed and told the main character that he was very lustful. Ning Tao fell to his knees in despair and wrote to the singer on paper that he swears to her that he did nothing. The main character looked innocently at the singer and showing the inscription on the paper, he asked her to believe him. After this, the singer realized that Ning Tao was absolutely innocent. The maid wants to piss her off. June realized that there was a game going on and she decided that she would not just give in. She realized that the maid really liked the main character. The main character stood aside and carefully watched the girls. It seemed to him that they were burning. The system issued a message that the singer had returned her feelings for the main character. Then everyone was distracted by the voice of the presenter on stage. He greeted the guests and apologized for keeping everyone waiting. The presenter looked around the hall and joyfully invited everyone to start dancing. The main character realized what an awkward moment he was in. Both girls looked at him with great attention. The singer and the maid vied with each other to invite Ning Tao to dance with them. The main character realized that he could not make a choice. He wanted to scream for help. At this tense moment, the main character heard the voice of his mind which urged him to calm down. Ning Tao's mind told him that he found himself in a situation that all playboys go through. Now he needs to calm down. It was time for Ning Tao to make his choices wisely. As a result, he can get his happy ending. The main character closed his eyes for a while. He realized that everything around him was just a game. He looked at the surrounding reality through the interface of the game he launched. The guy decided to set the normal difficulty level in his game. The virtual boot process has begun. Ning Tao had time to think about his decision. A window appeared in front of the guy to choose who he could dance with at the party. It could be Yi Tong Tong or June Ruoying. Ning Tao realized that if he chose the singer, he would simply be convinced of June Ruoying's level of friendship. If the main character chooses to dance with the singer, Yi Tun Tun will leave him and she will quit her job as a maid. In a possible continuation of the story, the fired maid would come to the protagonist's villa on a rainy night. Ning Tao wonders why the girl Yi Tong Tong returned to him. The former maid replies that she missed her. Yi Tun Tun invites the main character to go with her. The guy says that he can't go because June Ruoying might see them. The former maid holds a bag in front of her and tells the main character that she will take him with her for spare parts. Ning Tao doesn't understand what she means. Yi Tun Tun looks at the main character with a crazy look. she takes a chainsaw out of her bag. A maid with a chainsaw shouts to the main character that they can be together forever. The main character was very scared due to such an shocking bad ending. Ning Tao thought that such a story with a maid would be very dark. He realized that he could not choose Jun Ruin to dance. The main character decided to try first. He would choose the girl Yi Tun Tun to dance with. Ning Tao and his maid danced happily. Singer Jun Ruoying was alone, feeling very sad. Jun looks at the main character and the maid. He considers them a match made in heaven. The singer stands with a golf club in her hands. The main character apologizes and says that next time he will invite her to dance. Jun asks to take her to the golf course and give her the ball. Ning Tao replies that he does not have a ball. At this moment, the singer hits the guy in the groin with all her strength and says that she hit the ball right. The main character flies very far into the sky and disappears into endless space. After this, Ning Tao makes peace with his enemy Han Wen and together they create a rap group called Guys Without Balls. This brings them popularity. This outcome angered the main character even more. He literally exploded from the shock of this outcome. Ning Tao shouted very loudly that he did not want this scenario with the girls to end. The main character looked at the girls next to him and one thought began to ripen in his mind. The singer and the maid vied with each other to encourage him to dance with them and demanded that he make his choice now. Ning Tao realized that in any case he would die. He decided to find the perfect ending. Each of the girls demanded that he choose her to dance. The guy said that he would choose someone else. At that moment, the main character saw his personal security guard nearby. Ning Tao realized that the ideal solution had appeared. He grabbed the guard and said that he was choosing him. After this, Ning Tao danced with his guard until dawn. The bodyguard said that he was straight and the main character should increase his rate to ask to do such a thing.